Chapter 1348. Of the 100,000-odd cultivators present, the ones who were the most shocked and astonished were naturally the 10 bladesmen's personal disciples. As bladesmen, they understood better than ordinary people the pressure brought by the surging saber technique earlier. This was especially so for Wenziren. His expression changed drastically, and heavy astonishment flashed on his face. Who is this person? The incredibly chaotic Bright Moon Plaza immediately turned quiet. Everyone's gaze focused on the hand of this mysterious person wearing a hat. Tianyushi frowned slightly, feeling suspicious in her heart. This person seemed somewhat familiar. However, she could not be sure if he was the person she guessed. Xingju took 3 steps back, showing both shock and rage on his face. He asked with a sullen expression, "Is he Xiao Chun?" After not seeing Xiao Chun for several years, Xingju was even more uncertain than Tianyushi. Xiao Hoju shook his head and said, "His physique is similar. However, how could Xiao Chun come to Bright Moon City? He did not even enter the city. Even if he covered his face, he would still have to be checked when he entered the city." Feng Wuji nodded and said, "It is not difficult to sneak in. However, the Bright Moon Palace's palace master already made it clear that she does not welcome him. If he really did sneak in, the consequences would be even worse. Xiao Chun should understand this." Xie Zixuan smiled coldly and said, "What is the point of thinking so much? Whether he is or not, we just have to remove the hat on his head. Isn't that simple?" As the sound of his voice faded, Xie Zixuan's figure was like a ghost, and as he drifted, he brought along a field of blurry ghostly shadows. With every step he took, he left behind a ghostly image. When the ghostly images landed, they would roar and roar. Thousands of ghostly images flashed, giving off sharp, miserable shrieks that turned into strange and horrifying sound waves. When Xie Zixuan's true body arrived before Xiao Chun, the thousands of ghostly images roared and merged into one. Then they turned into a 3-kilometer-tall malicious spirit of hell behind Xie Zixuan. It opened its bloody mouth and roared at Xiao Chun. Yaya! The sound waves formed a tornado, fierce and unparalleled. The sound was sharp and ferocious. The scariest thing was that it could enter the sea of consciousness and cause a mental attack. This ghost shadow steps was not only fast, but it also had many abilities. The moment it appeared, it caused countless spectators to exclaim in shock. The instant the malicious spirit roared, Xie Zixuan narrowed his eyes. The sword in his hand moved like a venomous snake, stabbing towards his chest. Xiao Chen's movement technique and his martial technique worked together seamlessly, flawlessly. If a peak quasi-emperor were to face this attack, their hearts would be pierced through and they would die instantly. Unfortunately, this Xiao Chen ran into Xiao Chen. The malicious spirit's mental attack invaded Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. It bared its fangs and claws, about to unleash its might. In the depths of Xiao Chen's consciousness, the green-clothed Dharma incarnation with a frightening evil aura opened its eyes and shot out a boundless killing intent. The spirit of the evil ghost was terrified. The azure-robed Dharmic incarnation in the depths of the sea of consciousness did not stop, either. Xiao Chen executed the fish dragon art. Immediately, the azure-robed Dharmic incarnation chopped down with one saber strike. Xiao Chen executed the fish dragon art. Immediately, he was like a fish in water. Xiao Chen's body moved slightly, like a fish swaying its tail in the water. It looked like the sword was about to strike Xiao Chen. This startled everyone into taking a deep breath. However, in the next moment, they discovered that the sword only brushed past Xiao Chen's body. Fast. Fish dragon art, blue dragon goes to sea, clouds scatter. Xiao Chen's aura changed. He became like a dragon going to sea, breaking out of the water. His cultivation went from slow to fast. Xiao Chen's figure flashed forward, and he swung the cloud moon saber, still in its scabbard, at Xie Zixuan's face. Pa! The ferocious and unpredictable Xie Zixuan did not even manage to touch Xiao Chen's clothes before he was sent flying. What movement technique is this? Xie Zixuan's ghostly shadow steps already stunned the entire place, inspiring horror. However, this mysterious person's movement technique was clearly superior. Xie Zixuan, who wanted to show off his movement technique, ended up getting showcased instead. This was a genuine showdown. The wound on his face was the mark of Xie Zixuan's humiliation. Kill him. Xingju shouted coldly. Whether this person was Xiaochen or not, he was now their greatest enemy. Slapping Xie Zishuan's face was equivalent to slapping the deity Dao Yunyan's face. They needed to retaliate. With a ferocious roar, Xingju's clothes tore apart, revealing a robust golden body. That golden body flickered with light. His bulging muscles contained a stifling force. Bang! Standing where he was, Xingju punched. The energy tore through the air, heading for Xiaochen. The force of this punch caused the surrounding space to tremble slightly. Xiaochen thought to himself, this Xingju truly lives up to being the disciple of the heaven-punishing corpse god. In terms of physical strength, he already surpasses me slightly. However, that is fine. The other party is an outstanding talent that mainly cultivates the physical body. Furthermore, he has a master who became a prime with his physical body. There is no need to compete with him in physical strength. The Cloud Moon Saber's scabbard gently pushed against the energy. Xiaochen's white robes fluttered as he used the momentum to fly up, easily dodging that energy. His figure looked very graceful. After the punch, Xingju and the other two charged over with ferocious auras, surging with killing chi. They instantly surrounded Xiaochen. They all executed their best moves, showing no mercy. However, when facing such a storm-like attack, the four could not even touch a corner of Xiaochen's clothes. It was like they were trying to catch fish in the water. Instead, they were being toyed with. This fellow is too strong. Let's force the Cloud Moon Saber out of his hand first. If he has the chance, he will definitely draw it. A descendant of a saber sovereign on the platform suggested. The other outstanding talents exchanged glances and nodded. Then they got up and flew over, joining the group surrounding Xiaochen. When Xiren hesitated for a moment. After thinking about it, he charged over as well. Such an expert of the Saber Dao was a rare opportunity. If he did not make a move, he would be itching to make a move. Rumble. Immediately, aside from Chu Yang, Di Xinhan, and the other holy scions, who were purely watching the excitement, the other people who wanted the holy daughter all joined the group surrounding Xiaochen. Even if they could not defeat this fellow quickly, they absolutely could not give him the time to draw the Cloud Moon Saber, preventing him from stopping. However, these people did not know that Xiaochen was already smiling widely in his heart. Only those people from the deity Dao Yunyan surrounding him would be somewhat problematic for him. After all, the other party was from the same faction. Their cooperation was rather perfect, and their strength was not low either. However, if these people surrounded him, not only would they not be able to cooperate, but they would even restrict each other, even injuring each other. The Taiji Dao was best at fighting against many with few, leveraging force to fight. These people wanted to prevent Xiaochen from stopping. However, this was exactly what they wanted, giving Xiaochen a chance. Damn it! You injured me. Scram. You are clearly the one who injured me first, alright? I just lost control and did not control my strength well. I did not do it on purpose. Damn. Which bastard attacked me while I was speaking? Scram. Bunch of trash. Scram as far as you can. Xingju discovered that he could not even see Xiaochen's figure. Furthermore, there were many wounds on his upper body. This angered Xingju so much that he roared loudly and charged at the two people beside him. It would have been fine if Xiaochen had not made a move. The moment he made a move, the scene immediately turned even more chaotic. Amid the chaos, Xingju's dazzling golden body was the best target, the center of the chaos. The situation immediately fell into a vicious cycle. The angrier Xingju got, the heavier his attacks became, and the more chaotic the situation became. As for Xingju, who was in the center, his dazzling golden body was already covered in blood. It was a tragic sight, completely losing its initial breathtaking look. All of you stop. The person is already gone. Why are you still attacking me? With so many Saber Sovereign's descendants and outstanding talents attacks, even someone with a refined physical body would not be able to endure. That's right. Where did that mysterious person go? Where is he? Where is he? All of you stop. Look around. Look around. Initially, this group of people attacked individually amid the chaos, unable to stop at all. Now they suddenly discovered that the person they wanted to surround and attack had disappeared at some point in time. They wanted to prevent Xiao Chen from stopping, but their group ended up in a mess instead. Over there. Xingju narrowed his eyes and found Xiao Chen's figure. Then he instantly charged over. Xiao Chen's exposed upper body was a tragic sight, covered in wounds. His hair was disheveled, and there were some tattered clothes on his body. He no longer had the air of an outstanding talent or a descendant of a prime. He looked like a miserable beggar, heart-wrenching and pitiful. The group followed Xingju's gaze and saw that Xiao Chen had already appeared several kilometers away at some point in time. Xiao Chen held his saber horizontally in front of him, his right hand grasping the lunar shadow saber's hilt. A sense of shame and humiliation welled up in everyone's hearts. They had been played too ruthlessly. Seeing that the mysterious person was about to draw his saber, Tianyu she became utterly flustered. She stood on the tall platform and shouted, "Cultivators present. As long as anyone can touch the corner of this person's clothes, my deity Dao Union will reward them with 10,000 essence stones." The moment Xiao Chen spoke, all the 100,000 cultivators present exclaimed at the same time. 10,000 essence stones for touching the corner of Xiao Chen's clothes? If this was not giving away money, what was? Tianyu she's heart bled. However, at this point, she had no choice but to use this method to interfere with the mysterious person drawing his saber. Attack. At Tianyushi's words, the 100,000 cultivators all went crazy. They quickly flew toward Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Then he grasped the saber's hilt and casually swung it. An incredible scene appeared. Xingju used all his vital qi and could barely draw the cloud moon saber by 1 centimeter. However, in Xiao Chen's hand, he managed to draw it halfway. Night fell, and the moon hid in the clouds. In the night, Xiao Chen released a light from his body. He looked like a moon palace that fell to the mortal realm, cold and aloof. The bright moon hidden in the clouds seemed to be attracted by the light from Xiao Chen's body and leaped out. The two moons in the sky and on the ground merged. The might of the divine weapon surged out. In front of the might of this divine weapon, the 100,000 martial artists that were charging over were all blown away, screaming incessantly. Now, only Xiao Chen remained in the vast bright moon plaza. When the two moons merged, the supreme elegance of drawing the cloud moon saber halfway deeply shocked everyone. As Xiao Chen grasped the saber hilt, she felt enlightened. Suddenly, these words appeared in her mind. "I am a bright moon, a lone flower admiring itself. This saber was prepared for me." Xiao Chen muttered to herself. Then, she prepared to draw the remaining half of the cloud moon saber. However, just at this moment, a divine light appeared. The sun shone, and the sky brightened again. Chapter 1349. The originally dark scene with only the bright moon illuminating the land was suddenly illuminated by a beam of divine light. Closely following that, the sky turned bright, and light reappeared. A clump of golden light appeared in the sky. That light was even more dazzling than the sun. However, it warmed one's heart and made one feel happy. One would feel an indescribable carelessness, and a willingness to approach it. The sudden appearance of this light immediately disrupted Xiao Chen's state of mind. He had been about to draw the divine weapon. Huangdang. The cloud moon saber returned to its scabbard, and its divine might scattered. Such a situation was truly unexpected. Xiao Chen had not expected someone to pull the wool over his eyes, turning night into day. The divine weapon bounced back and flew out of Xiao Chen's hand. He took 3 steps back, and his complexion paled slightly. When one drew the saber, one's mind, qi, and spirit were all connected to the divine weapon. The might of the divine weapon's rebound was not weak at all. Earlier, Xingju vomited blood and retreated frantically. Although Xiao Chen's injuries were not that severe, his qi and blood surged, and his sea of consciousness shook. This was unavoidable. After a while, Xiao Chen recovered. He squinted and peered through his hat. His expression changed slightly. There was a person hidden in that clump of golden light. Just by looking at the silhouette, Xiao Chen could immediately recognize that it was the deity race's Diwuk. Whoosh! While Xiao Chen was distracted, Diwuk stretched out his hand, and the cloud moon saber flew into his grasp. When the light scattered, Diwuk's true appearance was revealed. His handsome facial features were like those of a deity, exquisitely sculpted and boundlessly charming. Up on the high platform, Tianyushi's face lit up with joy. At the crucial moment, the divine son, Diwuk, finally appeared. Xingju and Xiezishuan looked at Diwuk in the air, somewhat stunned. Originally, they thought that this Diwuk would not come. Who could have imagined that at the critical moment, he really managed to rush over? Who is this person? What a powerful aura. He already has the temperament of a big shot. He is Diwuk. His name has already spread throughout the Kunlun continent. Someone exclaimed in shock when he recognized Diwuk. Diwuk? Why is he joining in on the fun? Doesn't he already have a goddess? Who knows? It is a common thing for experts to marry 1 or 2 women in the Kunlun realm. There is nothing strange about it. If he encounters that mysterious man, I wonder who will be the stronger one. Because of Diwuk's appearance, the originally quiet Bright Moon Square suddenly became lively again. The discussions went on and on. In the air, Diwuk looked down like a deity. His lips curled up slightly as he said, Azure Dragon King Xiaochen, since you are already here, why the need to be so secretive? Do you think you can hide your identity by wearing a hat? The moment Diwuk said that, everyone exclaimed softly. As they looked at Xiaochen, their gazes filled with incredulity. Is he really Blue Dragon King Xiaochen? How can he be so bold? The Lunar Palace already said that Bright Moon City would not welcome him. To think that he still dares to appear. Up on the tall platform, Yu Bingyun already stood at the edge, staring at Xiaochen without blinking. It was like she wanted to see through him. Xiaochen was mildly startled. He had already covered himself with his spiritual sense. If someone wanted to use their mental energy to see his appearance, they would only see a blurry image. Unable to see anything clearly and unable to determine his identity. However, when Diwuk appeared, he immediately figured out Xiaochen's identity. There was only one answer. That was that Diwuk's mental energy cultivation already surpassed Xiaochen's, 1 grade higher. Not admitting it? In that case, I'll help you remove this hat. Let's see if I, Diwuk, am wrong. Seeing that Xiaochen did not say anything, Diwuk smiled coldly, and his figure suddenly vanished. In the next moment, light gathered in front of Xiaochen and formed a figure. Based on that appearance, it was Diwuk's true body. What fast speed! Xiaochen's strange and fast movement technique stunned everyone. Everyone could not help exclaiming softly. Xiaochen moved at lightning speed, immediately removing the hat on Xiaochen's head. His movements were as smooth as flowing water, not pausing at all. This movement technique was so fast that it looked like teleportation, catching Xiaochen somewhat off guard. However, Xiaochen reacted very quickly. His figure flashed, and he moved like a spirit fish swinging its tail. In an instant, he arrived behind Diwuk. Before Xiaochen could retract his hand, Xiaochen moved behind him and snatched the hat away. Didn't anyone tell you that you should be polite? The smile on Diwuk's face froze. He quickly turned around and retreated. However, Xiaochen chased after him like a shadow, snatching the Cloud Moon saber from his hand. Bang! 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 The two's figures quickly turned illusory in the plaza. Diwuk was like light, scattering and gathering and scattering again. No one could figure out his trajectory at all. As for Xiaochen, he was unpredictable. He moved nimbly between fast and slow. No matter how unpredictable Diwuk's movement technique was, Xiaochen could always change his trajectory at any time, sticking close to the other party. For a moment, the scene was filled with colorful lights and dazzling lights. A strong aura burst out in all directions, causing cracks to appear in the space around them. The focus of the fight was the Cloud Moon saber, which spun continuously in the air. No one could keep a firm grip on it. The spectators felt an upheaval in their hearts. Unexpectedly, the fight would be so intense. Originally, everyone thought that Diwuk's sudden removal of the mysterious person's hat would be sufficient to decide the outcome. Who could have imagined that the mysterious person's countenance would immediately change? Not only did he snatch the hat back, but he also fought so hard that it was hard to tell who would win. 1 hour later, the two revealed themselves at the same time. They stopped fighting and looked at each other. The two each held one end of the Cloud Moon saber. Diwuk held the hilt while Xiaochen held the end of the scabbard. Diwuk appeared calm. He smiled faintly and said, "Right now I'm holding the hilt. Do you think you still have a chance?" Under the hat, Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, "If I give you a chance, do you dare to pull it out?" The moment Xiaochen said that, everyone immediately looked at the divine daughter, Tianyushi. Indeed, they saw that Tianyushi's expression was somewhat unsightly. "Who told you that I don't dare to pull it out?" Diwuk smiled faintly, and a light even more dazzling than the sun burst out from his body. The saber trembled intensely. A strong wind blew, and the sea of clouds churned. This startling aura seemed to force Xiaochen back. "Is that so? Don't be too naive." Xiaochen's tone turned sullen. Night descended above his head, and the moon hid in the clouds. An extremely strong saber intent spread out from his body. Buzz, buzz, buzz. When the cloud moon saber felt this aura, it trembled even more intensely. No matter how hard Diwuk tried, he could not pull it out at all. Half of the world was night, and the other half was day, a clear distinction. The two clashed, neither giving way. They both wanted to force the other back and hold the cloud moon saber in their hands. This wondrous scene was an eye-opener for everyone, inspiring praise in their hearts. Be it Diwuk or that mysterious person, they were so strong that everyone sighed in amazement. Everyone had to admit that they were inferior. The stalemate attracted everyone's attention, not just the cultivators present. Many of the Lunar Palace's elders focused their gazes on these two. The Lunar Palace's vice palace master, who was on the high platform, frowned slightly. She did not wish for Diwuk to draw the cloud moon saber. The Lunar Palace's vice palace master had forged this divine weapon for the sake of preserving the Lunar Palace's independence. However, if Diwuk drew it, the Lunar Palace would not be able to go against the vice palace's vice palace master. Now Diwuk grasped the saber's hilt, holding a clear advantage. The situation did not look good. Yu Bingyun's heart also started to feel nervous. She knew that if Diwuk really drew it, even if her master was not willing, she would definitely fulfill her promise. Firstly, she could not take back what she said. Secondly, the Cloud Moon Saber and the Wind Shadow Sword concerned the Lunar Palace's survival, whether they could survive the demonic calamity or not. Chapter 1350. Half was day, and the other was night. One held the saber hilt, and the other held the end of the scabbard. It was clear who held the advantage. Diwuk was on the offensive, trying to draw the Cloud Moon Saber. As for Xiaochen, he was at the end and could only defend, using his strong saber technique to forcibly delay the other party. Fortunately, Xiaochen comprehended the saber domain and grasped saber energy. Otherwise, if it were anyone else in Xiaochen's position, they would not last long against an opponent like Diwuk. It was even possible that Xiaochen would only last a few seconds before being defeated. Even so, Xiaochen found this extremely unbearable, being in a very passive position. The most important thing was still Diwuk's sudden appearance earlier, illuminating the night with divine light. This caused the divine weapon to rebound and injure Xiaochen, snatching the initiative. After not seeing him for 5 years, this Diwuk's strength somewhat surpassed Xiaochen's expectations. The other party had not advanced to martial emperor yet, and had not condensed a heart of an emperor. However, he already clearly had the emperor's might, heavy and withdrawn. This was not strange. Xiaochen could obtain the Blood Sword Sovereign's inheritance, and condense a heart of an emperor in advance. The deity race had deep accumulations. It was possible that they did not have similar inheritances. As long as one was talented enough, one could comprehend them as well. Let go. Give me a chance, and I will definitely draw this saber. However, ask yourself, if you are given a chance, will you really draw this Cloud Moon Saber? Diwuk suddenly said. His eyes narrowed into a line and turned into a saber. Then his gaze pierced at Xiaochen with an incredibly sharp gaze. Under the hat, Xiaochen's expression remained calm, not fluctuating at all. He said indifferently, "You do not understand." That was right. Xiaochen had not really thought of drawing the Cloud Moon Saber. If not for that moment of hesitation in his heart, he would not have drawn it. If not for that moment of hesitation in his heart, he would not have given Diwuk a chance to injure him and prevent him from drawing the Cloud Moon Saber. However, since Yu Bingyun begged him, giving him the bright jade fan and letting him enter Bright Moon City. He needed to stop this divine weapon unveiling ceremony. No matter what the sect did, it could not sacrifice a woman's happiness. If this person had nothing to do with Xiao Chun, he would not meddle in other people's business. However, Yu Bingyan was different. She was a friend who had gone through thick and thin with him. A friend who had gone through thick and thin with him. Since his friend had spoken, he would naturally be willing to go through fire and water for him. When he arrived at Bright Moon City, Xiao Chun had already thought everything through. He was not begging the Lunar Palace to stand on the Dragon's Gate side, or preventing the deity Dao Union from obtaining the Lunar Palace's support. His purpose was simple. He just wanted to help his friend when he was in trouble. That was how it was to face one's heart. Day versus night, the bright moon versus the great sun. From the very beginning, this was not a fair fight. Firstly, it was daytime at the moment, and Diwuk occupied the time of day. Secondly, he was holding the hilt of the saber, while Xiao Chun was holding the tail of the saber. With the two factors added together, the situation was really too disadvantageous for Xiao Chun. If Xiao Chun were in Diwuk's position, he would be able to draw the Cloud Moon Saber in a few breaths. Kassier. Xiao Chun drew the Cloud Moon Saber by 1 centimeter. The saber light was dazzling, and Diwuk's aura soared. The white clouds above pressed forward, pushing back the night sky above Xiao Chun by 1 kilometer. The crowd let out startled cries. Yu Bingyan covered her mouth, somewhat unable to bear to watch. This saber light dazzled everyone's eyes and also pierced many people's hearts. Diwuk smiled faintly and started attacking with his words. It looks like I will be able to taste the Holy Daughter soon. After I taste it, I will definitely tell you. The moment Xiao Chun said that, the expressions of several people immediately turned sullen. Rage burned in Xiao Chun's heart, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Then the spread-out saber domain quickly gathered back together. Clouds churned in the night sky, representing Xiao Chun's rage. They pounced over like a ferocious monster. Diwuk did not panic. He said indifferently, "It's useless. I already nurtured a divine spirit in my sea of consciousness. In terms of aura, you cannot compare to me. You don't know how I managed to get through these 5 years." Suddenly, the white sky above Xiao Chun's head gathered and turned into a huge deity. The deity held a sharp sword and swung it down ferociously. It immediately knocked back the ferocious beast formed by the night sky. Boom! Suddenly, 9 fire dragons of different colors appeared above Diwuk's head, roaring as they flew at him. It was Mo Chun charging over while holding the Book of Heavenly Works. "You are seeking death." Without needing Diwuk to make a move, Xingju snorted coldly and soared into the sky. Then he threw 9 punches and easily broke the fire dragons. After that, Xiao Chun punched at Mo Chun. The force was so great that the entire sky trembled. The force transmitted through the formless air, causing the vast Bright Moon Plaza to shake violently. Rumble. Countless buildings shook left and right, looking like they would collapse at any moment. Xingju felt a fire burning in his chest. Just as he had nowhere to vent it, Mo Chun jumped out and happened to run right into him. As a descendant of a prime, the gap between Mo Chun and Xingju was clear. Even though Xiao Chun did his best to block, this punch still knocked Mo Chun down from the sky. Her complexion paled, and her veil turned bright red. That was not all. As Xingju walked over, it looked like he had no intention of stopping. Xiao Chun felt a pang in his heart. He immediately prepared to let go, to give up on fighting with Diwuk and rush to save Mo Chun. However, just as Xiao Chun was about to let go, a heavy killing intent burst out from Diwuk's body, firmly locking onto Xiao Chun. As long as Xiao Chun let go and his aura weakened, Diwuk would quickly follow up and severely injure him at lightning speed. Right now, the two were fighting at a crucial moment. Whoever let go would have their aura plummet to rock bottom. However, in Xiao Chun's opinion, if he let go, the other party would focus on drawing his saber. Unexpectedly, the other party was so ruthless. The moment he found an opportunity, he immediately wanted to kill Xiao Chun. "Diwuk, don't go overboard." Xiao Chun roared angrily as he narrowed his eyes. Diwuk smiled coldly and said, "Unexpectedly, your heart of innocence still has not changed. How laughable. Do you still not understand? Right now in the Kunlun realm, Only you and I have a chance to fight for the luck child. With such a heart, how are you going to be the luck child? Your weakness is so obvious. What qualifications do you have to lead the entire Kunlun realm? Xiaochen ignored Xiaochun. He focused all his attention on Xingju. The other party got closer and closer to Emochun. Damn it! Xiaochun cursed in his heart. Then he did not hesitate to let go. The instant Xiaochun let go, the blue dragon battle armor instantly condensed, covering every part of his body from top to bottom. Xiaochun's figure turned into a dragon and broke out of the sea, moving like a meteor. However, while Xiaochun was fast, Diwuk, who had been staring at him, was even faster. The white sun above swept out, sweeping away the darkness that Xiaochun gathered. Xiaochun stepped forward and thrust the scabbard of the cloud moon saber forward. The precise timing struck Xiaochun, who was in the air, heavily striking Xiaochun's chest. Even with the protection of the blue dragon battle armor, a hole still opened in Xiaochun's chest. Blood flowed endlessly. Although Xiaochun was severely injured, he used the force of this strike to move his body and shield Emochun. Facing the strong wind, Xiaochun circulated all the primordial energy in his body and punched at his fastest speed, blocking Xingju's attack. Boom! The two fists clashed. Xiaochun, who had condensed the blue dragon battle armor, did not take a step back. However, he directly knocked Xingju into the air. Compared to Diwuk's incredible improvement, Xingju was still weaker. Are you alright? Xiaochun asked softly as he quickly helped Emochun up, ignoring his injuries. Emochun smiled bitterly and said, "He can't kill me. Why are you so stupid? I have managed Heavenly Star Island for so many years. I definitely have some life-saving secret treasures." Xiaochun now understood. However, it did not matter. Even if Xiaochun could not kill Emochun, the punch that landed on her would still hurt. Since Xiaochun brought Emochun out, he had to ensure that she would not get hurt. Ha 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 ha. You truly live up to being the Blue Dragon King, Xiaochun. You are indeed loyal. However, you will still suffer a crushing defeat today. This cloud moon saber is mine. Diwuk laughed heartily. He grasped the scabbard with his left hand and the hilt with his right. Then he pointed the saber at the sky, intending to draw it. Do you really think that I can't do anything to you? Xiaochun showed a cold expression as he helped Emochun up. Then he removed the hood on his head and casually tossed it away. It's not that I can't do anything to you. I just don't want to completely expose my identity. His white robes and white hair were spotless. His heart was pure and filled with killing intent. Chapter 1351. When Xiaochun removed his hood, his white hair fluttered. A cool breeze blew, revealing that delicate and handsome face. Everyone exclaimed softly, "It really is him. Blue Dragon King Xiaochun. To think that he dares to come to Bright Moon City. How bold of him." It turns out that Diwuk was right. Now that I think about it, who else could have such a saber move aside from the white-robed bladesman? However, it seems like there is no other way. Diwuk already has complete control over the cloud moon saber. No one can stop him. Xiaochun's appearance caused a huge commotion. All the cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza discussed it in shock. However, at the same time, they did not think much of Xiaochun's current situation. The reason was none other than Diwuk's strength speaking for itself. Now that he controlled the cloud moon saber, who could stop him from drawing it? Up on the tall platform, Yu Bingyun gently bit her lip. Tears welled up in her pretty eyes. Regardless of whether he succeeded or not, Xiaochun still took the risk to come to Bright Moon City just for her. Xiaochun. So it really is you. Shock flashed in Xingju's eyes. After the shock, a horrifying killing qi brewed frantically. However, it was Diwuk who appeared extremely indifferent. He smiled faintly and said, "You finally decided to remove your hood? However, as I said before, you have no chance. From this moment on, your luck will begin to decline. When the Haotian sect is destroyed, that will be your end." Whoosh! Right after Xiaochun spoke, thousands of layers of divine light burst out of his body. Golden clouds churned continuously in the sky. The image of the deity race's divine kingdom appeared indistinctly in the clouds. A boundless divine might erupted from Diwuk's body. Although he had not advanced to martial emperor yet, His aura already suppressed many of the Emperor Wu's. As the divine might spread out, all the cultivators in the plaza quickly retreated. Amid this boundless divine might, Diwuk grasped the saber's hilt and shouted. The Cloud Moon saber trembled for a while before it was completely drawn. Rumble. The aura of the divine weapon clashed intensely with Diwuk's aura. Lightning flashed in the sky, and mysterious phenomena appeared one after another. The entire Bright Moon Plaza shook endlessly. The many stone pillars and buildings collapsed. Cracks spread on the ground, creating deep ditches. The plaza turned into rubble. When all the heavenly starry ocean cultivators saw this scene, their faces all turned dark at the same time. Diwuk actually managed to draw the divine weapon. It was truly intolerable and unacceptable. This kind of result was something that no one could have predicted. He really pulled it out. It's over. How unfortunate. The Lunar Palace's holy daughter is actually going to marry a deity race person. On the platform, Yu Bingyun showed a grave expression, a desolate look flickering in her eyes. When the wind shadow sword on Xiao Chen's back felt the Cloud Moon saber's struggle, it buzzed and trembled endlessly. A surging sword intent erupted from its body. I, Diwuk, have been in hiding for 5 years. If I cannot even subdue an insignificant divine weapon like you, then I would have lived in vain. Xiao Chen, even if you are the Blue Dragon King, what can you do to me now? Diwuk held the Cloud Moon saber, which flickered with light and struggled endlessly. Then he reared his head back and laughed, looking unparalleled. How painful. You are probably unhappy with such a master, right? Sensing the Cloud Moon saber's struggle, Xiao Chen muttered to himself. Then he continued. In that case, I will set you free. A sharp light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes, and a surging saber intent started to gather wildly. Xiao Chen's long hair fluttered freely, and his white robes flapped noisily. A strong saber intent burst out of his body. The saber domain that he grasped instantly spread out without holding anything back. 100 strands of primordial energy, 100 strands of dragon-like vital qi, a peak will of thunder, a dermic incarnation hidden in the depths of Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness, and vast magic energy. Everything merged into this saber domain, without holding anything back. This was the first time Xiao Chen infused all his trump cards and various powers into his saber domain. With the flawless saber Dao, everything could be used as a saber. Whoosh. In the next moment, the light within 1 kilometer of Xiao Chen suddenly vanished. Xiao Chen sank into deathly stillness and darkness. No light could be seen at all. It was like the light had vanished from that world. This was a scene that ordinary people saw. However, the outstanding talents here saw a different scene. Bright, an extremely bright flash of light. A flash of saber light that completely suppressed the blazing sun. Dazzling, piercing, and shocking. Saber domain. The saber in front, the domain behind. The domain was used by the saber, not the other way around. At this moment, aside from the original power of the world, there were also the various powers of Xiao Chen within 1 kilometer. When Xiao Chen decided to merge them all into one, and use them all for the saber, that light naturally competed with the sun in brightness, shocking everyone. After detonating the 3 strands of saber energy in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness, he drew the lunar shadow saber, and executed his peak saber strike. Whoosh! It looked like Xiao Chen teleported, appearing in front of Diwuk out of nowhere. Before Diwuk, who was laughing loudly, could react, he discovered a saber light chopping down without any warning. This saber strike was too fast. It suppressed space and broke free of the restrictions of space. There was no trajectory that could be figured out at all. Kassier. The saber light directly chopped down on the Cloud Moon saber in Diwuk's hand. There was a crisp sound. Before everyone's eyes, the divine weapon, the Cloud Moon saber, broke in half. Clang! Half of the Cloud Moon saber fell to the ground. The Cloud Moon saber gave off a melodious sound. This sound was incredibly desolate, resounding in the world. However, it also contained a strange joy. That was the final sound the Cloud Moon saber gave off. Only Xiao Chen could understand its desolation. As a divine weapon, he was not willing to end up in the hands of a non-bladesman. Furthermore, he was not willing to suffer the fate of dying the moment he drew it. Similarly, only Xiao Chen could understand that trace of joy. That was the joy of being freed. After being forcefully drawn, only the fate of being broken and subdued was to fall. However, dying here might be a form of release. Dang, dang, dang. The remaining half of the saber shook. After bouncing a few times, it finally stopped falling. That final sound was a cry to fate, or a helpless wail before death. No one could understand whether it was pride or cowardice. I have a pride higher than the sky. I have a sharpness that no saber can compare to. I have the ambition to break through the Kunlun realm and compete with the divine weapons of the outside world. Unfortunately, the heavenly Tao is unfair. The world is unfair. An absolute treasure saber meets the wrong person. Xiaochen was slightly stunned. The final sound of the Cloud Moon saber rang in his ears. He knew in his heart that he was not the one who broke the Cloud Moon saber. Instead, the Cloud Moon saber chose him to break it. Was this pride or cowardice? Xiaochen did not understand. As for the surrounding cultivators, the incredibly interesting expressions of the Lunar Palace's people, and even the pale-faced Di Wuk and Xiaochen, who were very close, did not notice it. Xiaochen's gaze focused on the remaining half of the saber on the ground. How dare you? You are the descendant of the demonic Qing Emperor. Do you really think that I do not dare to kill you? Suddenly, a cold shout came from the Lunar Palace floating in the clouds in the sky. That voice was bone-chilling. Everyone in Bright Moon City felt a chill run down their backs, their bodies trembling. The rage contained in the voice terrified everyone. Fear spread throughout their bodies. No matter who it was, they all felt a terrifying killing intent. The strongest expert of the heavenly starry ocean, the Lunar Palace's palace master, was enraged. Chapter 1352. Without a doubt, the owner of this voice was the Lunar Palace's palace master, the leader of the heavenly starry ocean's three primes. The Lunar Palace's palace master, who wore an azure-colored dress and was surrounded by colorful clouds with a bright moon, slowly appeared in the sky and drifted down. After the Lunar Palace's palace master landed, the entire place fell silent. Not only did no one dare to speak, but even breathing became like ice pillars. The reason was none other than because everyone could sense this supreme being's anger. She already had murderous intent. Xiaochen, whose back faced the Lunar Palace's palace master, felt the greatest pressure. The might of that prime made one's heart tremble and their entire body turn cold. This was the first time a prime unleashed her aura on him. Only now did he truly understand. How horrifying was the strength of a prime. That was a level that Xiaochen could not imagine. However, Xiaochen did not turn his head back, nor did he explain anything. Even the appearance of a prime could not calm his emotions. Xiaochen waved his hand, and the bright jade fan flew out. The fan unfurled in midair. A brilliant light spread out, looking beautiful and gentle. The sound of a zither and melodious singing came from the fan. When the Lunar Palace's palace master saw the bright jade fan flying over, she showed a stunned expression. Clearly, she was somewhat surprised. The Lunar Palace's palace master stretched out her hand and grasped the bright jade fan. Her eyes flickered, and her expression fluctuated. Clearly, she had some difficult decisions in her heart. Then, Xiaochen bent over and picked up the remaining half of the Cloud Moon saber. Then, he stood up and looked at the remaining half of the saber in Di Wuk's hand. Then he said indifferently, "What you want is not a treasure saber that exists purely for the saber Tao. Give it to me." After saying that, Xiaochen did not wait for Di Wuk to refuse. Di Wuk was somewhat distracted. He did not struggle, letting Xiaochen snatch it away easily. "Emo-chen, let's go." Xiaochen's figure drifted over to Emo-chen's side. Then he turned his head and smiled faintly at Yu Bingyun. Then he soared into the air with Emo-chen. Then they left before everyone's gazes. The Lunar Palace's palace master wanted to say something. However, she saw the bright jade fan in her hand. Xiaochen recalled what Xiaochen said to Di Wuk. Then he turned his head back to look at Yu Bingyun, who was staring at Xiaochen's back in a daze. She sighed helplessly in her heart. With her intelligence, how could she not guess the ins and outs of the matter at this moment? However, Yu Bingyun was unhappy with Xiaochen's arrangements. She used the bright jade fan to force Xiaochen to enter and stop this divine weapon unveiling ceremony. However, Yu Bingyun had not expected that the divine weapon unveiling ceremony would indeed be disrupted. Xiao Chen's saber strike actually broke the cloud moon saber. There was no shadow in the wind, no moon in the clouds. The lunar palace's preparations for more than 1,000 years went to waste, their blood, sweat, and tears. Had the lunar palace's palace master known that there would be such a storm, she might not have held the divine weapon unveiling ceremony. As the lunar palace's palace master watched Xiao Chen's figure slowly vanish from Bright Moon City, she clutched the bright jade fan tightly. In the end, she did not choose to make a move. Perhaps you are still somewhat different from that demon. The lunar palace's palace master looked around, and her killing chi vanished. Then she looked at Diwuk and asked, "You are the divine son Diwuk?" Diwuk recovered his wits and nodded gently. "That is this junior. I came in a rush and did not report before suddenly coming to Bright Moon City. Sorry for the offense." When facing this prime, Diwuk did not show any stage fright. His reply was appropriate, displaying the air of a major character. The lunar palace's palace master looked directly at Diwuk like she wanted to see through all of Diwuk's secrets, making Diwuk feel somewhat uncomfortable. After a while, the lunar palace's palace master nodded slightly and said, "Not bad. Before advancing to martial emperor, you already comprehended the unique divine spirit of the deity race and cultivated heavenly deity energy. You are indeed incredible. Come with me. I want to have a chat with you." After being stunned for a while, Diwuk reacted. The lunar palace's palace master wanted to meet him alone. With the cloud moon saber shattered, the lunar palace lost its greatest support and would have no choice but to lower its head to the deity Dao Union. When Diwuk figured this out, he could not help rejoicing in his heart. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks for the palace master's invitation. Wuk is deeply honored." Diwuk felt somewhat cocky in his heart. It looked like Xiao Chen was in the limelight at this divine weapon unveiling ceremony. However, in the end, Xiao Chen still ended up benefiting him. Without Xiao Chen breaking the cloud moon saber, given the pride of the lunar palace's palace master, how could she have summoned him alone? This was what Xiao Chen worried about the most before coming to the lunar palace. However, it still happened in the end. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen did not regret it at all. He had long since understood his heart. He only came here to help a friend. Since he already achieved his goal, he had no regrets. However, the final sound of the cloud moon saber stirred Xiao Chen greatly. In Bright Moon City, when the Holy Science saw Diwuk and the lunar palace's palace master ascend to the lunar palace in the sky, their expressions changed somewhat. This was because the Holy Lands behind some of the Holy Science had already been convinced by Xiao Chen and agreed to help the Haotian sect at the crucial moment. However, the lunar palace's attitude seemed to have changed somewhat, making these Holy Science feel somewhat nervous. The lunar palace's influence in the heavenly starry ocean was unprecedentedly strong. If the lunar palace sided with the deity Dao Union, then the Haotian sect, which was already barely able to put up a fight, would immediately be in grave danger. All of these Holy Scions rushed back and brought this news back to their holy lands. Aside from the myriad law fiend master's heart, which did not fluctuate at all, the other holy lords all experienced some subtle changes. Among them, the cyclic astral lord's reaction was the greatest. He flew into a rage and cursed out at the holy sun, a rare sight. 3 days later, a piece of news spread out, calming the hearts of the many holy lords. The lunar palace did not side with the deity Dao Union. It only took half a step forward and promised Diwuk that as long as the deity Dao Union could destroy the Haotian sect, the lunar palace would join the deity Dao Union without holding anything back. This was not good news. However, to the various holy lands, this was the best result. After all, they already promised Xiao Chen to place their future bet on the Blue Dragon King. If the lunar palace sided with the deity Dao Union, and they went to help, they would not have any chance of victory. Soon, the divine weapon unveiling ceremony came to an end. Unknowingly, half a month had passed. During this half a month, nothing major happened in the heavenly starry ocean. Everyone talked about the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen, and that startling saber strike at the divine weapon unveiling ceremony. The divine weapon unveiling ceremony was full of twists and turns, stirring up everyone's hearts. It would be hard for it not to become a topic of conversation. This was especially so for Xiaochen. In the end, he actually managed to break the Cloud Moon Saber and leave Bright Moon City alive. Everyone found this inconceivable. In Emperor Wu's circle, this saber strike also caused a huge commotion, inciting widespread discussion. This was because Xiaochen had taken a path that they had never seen before. He used the saber to control space, using the saber to suppress space. This shattered Emperor Wu's long-held understanding of domains. This was simply incredible. In the past half a month, Emperor Wu continuously came to Heavenly Star Island to seek advice from Xiaochen on the various mysteries contained in that saber strike. Xiaochen did not hide anything, openly sharing his understanding with the people who came to seek advice. On this particular day, Xiaochen had just sent off a greater heavenly Emperor Wu of the Storm Sea. When he returned to his residence to discuss with Mo Chun how to deal with the broken Cloud Moon Saber, an unexpected guest arrived. When Mo Chun saw this person arrive, she felt exceptionally shocked. Elder Sister Bingyun, weren't you in confinement? Why are you out? The person who came was Yu Bingyun, who was rumored to be imprisoned after the divine weapon unveiling ceremony. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly. Then she looked at Xiaochen and said, "Now, I am no longer the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. I can go wherever I want." Chapter 1353. Clearly, the two had not expected Yu Bingyun's arrival. When they heard her say that she was no longer the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, they were even more shocked. Xiaochen and Mo Chun exchanged glances. They did not know what happened. Could it be that the Lunar Palace's holy daughter and the Lunar Palace's palace master already fell out? Bingyun, what do you mean by this? Xiaochen asked probingly after inviting her in. This might involve some sensitive issues, so Xiaochen did not insist on it. He only asked casually, not putting any pressure on Yu Bingyun. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "It is not as serious as you think. After Master found out about my thoughts, she did not force me and let me leave the Lunar Palace. However, I lived in the Lunar Palace since I was young. Now that I left the Lunar Palace, I could not even think of a place to stay, so I came here. You won't chase me away, right?" This is good. Xiaochen and Mo Chun both heaved a sigh of relief. It looks like the Lunar Palace's palace master is not a cold-blooded and emotionless person. Clearly, Xiaochen still had a master-disciple relationship with Yu Bingyun. Otherwise, he would not have let her go so easily. Mo Chun giggled and said, "That is exactly what he wished for. How could he rush? I will accompany Elder Sister Bingyun later and arrange a place to stay." However, Xiaochen would not mind Yu Bingyun staying on Heavenly Star Island. He smiled faintly and did not say anything more. "By the way, I actually came here for another matter," Yu Bingyun said softly as she looked at the broken halves of the Cloud Moon Saber on the table. When Xiaochen saw Xiaochen's expression, his heart tightened. He asked, "Are you here for the Cloud Moon Saber?" Now that the divine weapon had lost its divinity and spirituality, it was no longer valuable. "Can you keep it with me? I am willing to return half of the resources to the Lunar Palace." Seeing Yu Bingyun's gaze on the Cloud Moon Saber, Xiaochen thought that the Lunar Palace wanted to take back the Cloud Moon Saber. Xiaochen did not have any plans for the Cloud Moon Saber. He only wanted to keep the two halves of the saber. The final sound of the Cloud Moon Saber shocked Xiaochen too much. Perhaps it was out of the respect a bladesman had for a saber, so Xiaochen kept it. Although most of the Cloud Moon Saber was willing to be broken by Xiaochen, Xiaochen was the one who personally broke it. Taking in the Cloud Moon Saber could be considered as making up for the guilt in his heart, although it was far from enough. Yu Bingyun smiled and said, No, you are overthinking. I would like to ask you if you are willing to merge the Lunar Shadow Saber and the Cloud Moon Saber into a brand new subdivine weapon." A surprised expression appeared on Xiaochen's face. He had not expected Yu Bingyun to say such a thing. On a deeper level, could this be the intention of the Lunar Palace's palace master? Yu Bingyun continued, "Xiaochen, there is no need to guess. Although Master did not say it explicitly, this is her intention. She made 2 moves. On the surface, she promised Di Wuk, but she didn't give up on you. After all, no matter who it is, No one would truly be willing to be swallowed up by the deity race. Xiaochun felt shocked in his heart. This lunar palace's palace master was truly incredible. She made 2 moves, one in the open and one in the dark, considering all the possible outcomes. This was especially so for Yu Bingyun's move. The other party was no longer a member of the lunar palace. Even if she came to help Xiaochun, the deity Dao Union would have nothing to say, unable to find an excuse to make things difficult for him. If the deity Dao Union gained power and really destroyed the Haotian sect, Yu Bingyun would have publicly expressed her support for the deity Dao Union long ago. She would have obtained a good position as well. Thinking of this, Xiaochun smiled bitterly and said, "This master of yours is scheming for the lunar palace at every turn. She treats everyone as a pawn. Has she ever thought about your feelings?" Yu Bingyun said softly, "Don't blame my master. I have never blamed her. Our positions are different, so naturally, our perspectives are different. Furthermore, this time I volunteered. As long as you are willing, I have a way to perfectly merge the Cloud Moon Saber into the Lunar Shadow Saber, bringing out the characteristics of the Cloud Moon Saber." When Xiaochun heard this, he entered deep thought. This was indeed a great temptation. However, he had to ask for Ao Jiao's opinion first. "Ao Jiao, do you think this is possible?" Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, nodded and said, "If it is just merging the Cloud Moon Saber, I can agree. Coincidentally, before it becomes a divine weapon, I can upgrade the Lunar Shadow Saber once more." Xiaochun felt slightly shocked. He asked in his heart, "Even if I merge the two, I still can't upgrade the Lunar Shadow Saber to a divine weapon?" Naturally it can. However, it will just be an ordinary divine weapon. Either the Lunar Shadow Saber does not become a divine weapon, or once it does, it will definitely charge into the divine weapon ranking. It is just like you. Either you do not advance to Martial Emperor, or once you do, you will definitely become an influential person among Emperor Wu. Xiaochun suddenly understood. It was not that he could not, but that he was unwilling. Right now, the Lunar Shadow Saber was like the blue-robed emperor, who was accumulating accumulations. This was fine as well. Right now, Xiaochun was not prepared to have a transcendent divine weapon. Xiaochun nodded and said, "I discussed it with the Lunar Shadow Saber." She agreed. "In that case, I'll have to trouble Miss Bingyun." Yu Bingyun blinked, feeling somewhat surprised. To think that Xiaochun would discuss the matter of modifying a weapon with his own item spirit. After recovering her wits, Yu Bingyun smiled and said, "It's fine, it's fine. It's not really troublesome. The truly troublesome one is younger sister Emo-chun. Without her help, it would be very difficult for me to merge the Lunar Shadow Saber and the Cloud Moon Saber perfectly." Emo-chun said, "No problem. As long as I can help big brother Xiaochun, Emo-chun is willing to do anything." When Xiaochun saw the sincerity in the 2 girls' eyes, he felt moved. It was already a great blessing to have a confidant in one's life. However, Xiaochun had to. It had to be said that he was very fortunate. Yu Bingyun said, "There is no time to lose. Let's start now and try to finish it before the deity Dao Union launches a full-scale attack on the Haotian sect." At the mention of this, Xiaochun's heart sank. Worry appeared on his face. The Haotian sect and the 3 holy masters had already started fighting long ago. Emperor Wu had already clashed with each other several times. As for the sporadic battles, that went without saying. They happened practically at every moment. However, with the Haotian Prime holding down the fort, even though the 3 holy masters held the advantage, they did not dare to clash head-on with the Haotian sect. Hence, there was no true decisive battle. However, after the deity Dao Union was established, the situation instantly changed. The Haotian sect was immediately at a disadvantage. Once the deity Dao Union was completely reorganized, the decisive battle would start at any moment. No matter how one looked at it, the Haotian sect was the deity Dao Union's greatest enemy on the path to unifying the Kunlun realm. Now, it had been more than 2 months since the deity Dao Union was established. That day was drawing closer. Perhaps it was only 1 month away, or perhaps it would happen tomorrow. Without the lips, the teeth would feel the cold. Once the Supreme Sky Sect fell, Xiaochun would suffer a calamity as well. Xiaochun's luck would be affected, plummeting. Bingyun, How long will it take? Xiao Chen asked. Yu Bingyan thought for a while. If everything went smoothly, she replied, it will probably take 7 days. After all, it is just merging and not forging a new divine weapon. Furthermore, there is Mo Chen's Book of Heavenly Works assisting from the side. It will not take long. 7 days. I hope that in these 7 days, the Haotian sect will not cause any trouble. After saying that, Xiao Chen took out the lunar shadow saber and handed it to Yu Bingyun. Then he said, the two of you just focus on merging the two sabers. I will stand guard for you during these 7 days. Chapter 1354. While Xiao Chen guarded the two girls as they merged the two sabers, something happened in the Tianwu domain in the Kunlun continent. Now the Haotian sect's Haotian province no longer had any ordinary people. The Haotian sect had already sent them to other places. The surrounding provinces also had no ordinary people. Naturally, the reason went without saying. The battle between the three holy masters and the Haotian sect had already progressed from the initial scattered battles to full scale. Such a huge battle affected everything within 5 million kilometers of the province. If ordinary people were here, it would be hard for them to survive. The Haotian sect sent disciples to guard all the cities of various sizes in the Haotian province. If one had a bird's eye view from the sky, they would discover that with Haotian City as the center, a huge formation had already formed. There were formations within formations, layer after layer, a total of 18 layers interconnected. Cities, mountains, and rivers were all important nodes of the formation. These nodes were the center of the battle between the Haotian sect and the three holy masters. If the three holy masters wanted to break the formation, they would have to destroy these nodes. If the Haotian sect wanted to protect its main sect, it would have to protect as many nodes as possible. The intensity of the battle would be easy to imagine. The many layers of formations guarded the center. The Haotian sect's Haotian City was where the sect's luck was. Once Haotian City was destroyed, the entire sect's luck would end. All the sect's disciples would be affected. Fortunately, although the three holy masters were pressing hard, they only managed to break the outermost 3 layers of the 18 layers of formations. Furthermore, the Haotian sect would organize a counterattack, so the fight would be intense. At the periphery of the Haotian province, the disciples of the White Emperor City, the Phoenix's Passion Palace, and the Divine Martial Gate could be seen densely packed in the periphery, wearing uniforms of different colors. There were all sorts of warships in the sky. They covered the sky and cast a large shadow. Among the many warships were 3 incredibly huge Emperor-grade warships: the Divine Tiger warship, the Divine Phoenix warship, and the Divine Martial warship. These were the final warships of the 3 holy masters. They could be used for both offense and defense. Since the start of the battle, they had kept them as trump cards and rarely used them. The 3 holy lords gathered on the Divine Phoenix warship of the Phoenix's Passion Palace. The Emperor Wu of the Holy Lands all stood behind their respective holy lords, radiating a baleful aura. If one counted carefully, each of the Holy Lands had more than 10 martial emperors. The depth of their accumulations was clear. Despite such great strength, the many martial emperors did not show any complacency on their faces. Instead, they had grave expressions, and the atmosphere of the entire place was very stifling. The White Tiger Holy Master sighed and said, 3 months have passed. The number of martial emperors that died in our clans has already exceeded 5. Many more blue-robed emperor and martial sages have died. Unexpectedly, the Haotian sect is so difficult to deal with. Under the threat of the 3 holy masters, aside from the Thunder King's Thunder and Lightning Palace, no other sect in the entire Tianwu domain dared to support the Haotian sect. However, the Haotian sect had a prime. No other sect dared to take the risk of following the 3 holy masters to attack the Haotian sect. Even if the Haotian sect was destroyed, the Haotian prime would not die. He would still be able to take revenge on them. Aside from the 3 holy masters, who had deep accumulations, no other sect dared to be so bold as to offend a prime. The Haotian sect and the Thunder and Lightning Palace added up only had 8 Emperor Wu, less than the 3 holy masters. In terms of accumulations, these 2 sects were far from comparable to the 3 holy masters. However, the Haotian sect had a prime. The three holy masters had to work together to defeat Ingzongtian. Furthermore, Ingzongtian could leave whenever he wanted. They would not hold him back. Furthermore, the other party had the geographical advantage, relying on the defensive formations. With one attacking and one defending, it was clear that the attacking side would have to put in more effort. For the past 3 months, even though the three holy masters held the upper hand, suppressing the Haotian sect to the point of not being able to counterattack, they could not take down the Haotian sect. On the other hand, the three holy masters suffered heavy losses. Even more than 6 Emperor Wu died. If they continued to attack, even if they destroyed the Haotian sect, the three holy masters would suffer heavy losses. The losses outweighed the gains. The three holy masters had no choice but to join the deity Dao Union's three holy masters. There was already no turning back. They had to take down the Haotian sect. Why are the deity Dao Union's people not here yet? A Phoenix's Passion Palace elder asked, feeling upset. They had already joined the deity Dao Union for 2 months, but they still had not received any reinforcements. These words could be said to have spoken out the thoughts of many elders. Everyone was worried that they would be the next to fall. The stronger one was, the more they valued their lives. Although the three holy masters' attacks had slowed down after joining the deity Dao Union, Emperor Wu still occasionally fell, making it hard to avoid fear. The Vermilion Bird Holy Lord said, "There is no rush. The deity Dao Union needs some time to organize its internal affairs. We need to discuss how to split the benefits. We also have to consider the unstable factors of the fiend races, the Fox King and the Ghost race. It is fine if the deity Dao Union does not make a move. However, when they do, they have to destroy the Haotian sect." Suddenly, the expression of the Vermilion Bird Holy Lord, who was speaking, changed. Then he closed his eyes as if he was communicating with someone. After a while, he opened his eyes, and he revealed an expression of joy. "Pass down my orders. All the Holy Land's cultivators are to stop attacking and defend the nodes that we already occupied. Do not make any movements for 3 days. Just turtle up and defend." The moment the Vermilion Bird said that, the deity Dao Union immediately broke out into discussion, feeling shocked. "Holy Lord, is the deity Dao Union coming?" someone asked anxiously. The Vermilion Bird Holy Lord replied indifferently, "There is no need to ask so much. Everything will be clear in 3 days. You can all withdraw and just wait for news." Although they did not know what news it was, at least they did not need to fight for now. This was a rare moment of rest, so it was good news. After these elders left, the White Tiger Holy Lord and the Black Tortoise Holy Lord asked one after another, "What news did Emperor Forsaken send? Are they going to make a move?" These 3 were peak 9th Heaven Sovereign Martial Emperors. Their perspective of the problem was much broader than that of Emperor Wu, who had just left. They did not feel anxious about the deity Dao Union taking so long to arrive. The smile on the Vermilion Bird Holy Lord's face vanished. He said sullenly, "I have 2 pieces of news, one good and one bad. The good news is that with the deity race's help, the internal strife of the Ghost race and the Corpse race is basically quelled. The deity Dao Union is nearly complete, and will arrive in the Tianwu domain in 3 days." Good. Given that, the allied army of the deity Dao Union will definitely have experts of the Ghost race and Corpse race. And the bad news. At the mention of the bad news, the Vermilion Bird Holy Lord's expression turned somewhat unsightly. However, he still had to say it in the end. The bad news is that the Divine Daughter Tianyu Shi's activities in the Heavenly Starry Ocean basically ended in failure. The many holy lands of the Heavenly Starry Ocean have been roped in by that little brat Xiaochun. What? The 2 cried out hoarsely, somewhat startled. The deity Dao Union was already established, yet the holy lands of the Heavenly Starry Ocean still dared to resist. Fortunately, Xiaochun did not convince the Lunar Palace. Furthermore, the Lunar Palace's Palace Master promised that as long as the Haotian sect is destroyed, she will immediately join the deity Dao Union. After a pause, the Vermilion Bird Holy Lord continued. The White Tiger Holy Lord smiled and said, "This Lunar Palace's Palace Master is indeed as shrewd as before. However, the Lunar Palace does indeed have the strength and accumulations to raise such a condition." The Black Tortoise Holy Lord nodded slightly, agreeing with the White Tiger Holy Lord's point of view. However, when he thought of Xiaochun, he found it somewhat strange. This fellow Xiaochun truly lives up to being a descendant of the Qing Emperor. To think that he is so horrifying. It looks like our decision to cut off all means of retreat and work together to make Diwuk the bearer of luck was the right one. That's right. If we really let him advance to martial emperor, we will all die. 10,000 years ago, the Qing Emperor treated us like cattle and horses. We, the three holy masters, absolutely cannot go through that again. A heavy murderous intent flashed in the vermilion bird Holy Lord's eyes. He continued in a cold voice, hence, this Haotian sect must be destroyed. We must cut off its luck, preventing it from advancing to martial emperor. Chapter 1355. In the refining pavilion of Scorching Flame Island, which had already been turned into a refining island in the sea region of Heavenly Star Island, Mo Chun and Yu Bingyun were anxiously helping to merge the Cloud Moon Saber and the Lunar Shadow Saber. Aside from Xiao Chun, there was no one else outside the refining pavilion. Unknowingly, 3 days had passed. During these 3 days, Xiao Chun had not been idle. He had been trying to comprehend the peak saber strike that he executed during the divine weapon unveiling ceremony. That saber strike gave Xiao Chun an extremely wondrous feeling. He had already touched the surface of the state of space. When he swung the saber, he used the saber to control space. He could not feel the existence of space. He was clearly still in the water, but it felt like he had already leaped out of space. It was extremely wondrous. After that, Xiao Chun tried several times. His saber domain could still merge all his energy and execute a peak saber strike. However, he could no longer find that feeling of using the saber to control space. It was like it had never appeared before. Since that day, many Emperor Wu came to seek advice from Xiao Chun on the mysteries of that move. Xiao Chun did not hide anything, honestly telling these people his views on the saber domain. At the same time, he shared his doubts and questions with Emperor Wu, who came to seek advice, helping each other. After chatting openly with many different Emperor Wu, and seeing all sorts of ingenious viewpoints, Xiao Chun gained a lot. No matter how smart a person was, there would always be things that one could not think of. Perhaps it was these small, unexpected things that one could not think of that would be the key to a breakthrough. Although Xiao Chun could no longer find that state of using the saber to control space, he became increasingly familiar with merging all his energy into the saber domain and executing a peak strike. Xiao Chun gave this saber strike a name, Void Breaking Stance. The word break represented the breaking of his understanding of the olden era's saber domain. It represented his rebuilding after breaking, creating a brand new Tao. Xiao Chun had a vague idea in his heart. He was preparing to accumulate everything he had learned in his life and create another saber technique, merging all the mysteries of the saber techniques that he had comprehended into this saber technique. This saber technique was called the Flawless Saber Technique, and the Void Breaking Stance was the first stance of this Flawless Saber Technique. As for how many more stances there were, that would depend on fate and could not be forced. Sitting cross-legged and closing his eyes, Xiao Chun continuously analyzed the saber techniques he had learned in his mind. Many years ago, Xiao Chun had been trying to create his own swordsmanship. Even if he obtained the swordsmanship of others, he would try his best to adapt it to his own. The Wuxia Saber Technique, the Rushing Thunder Chop, the Four-Season Saber Technique, and the Lightning Tribulation Saber Technique. It looked very tiring and required a lot more effort, and he might not even succeed. But many years later, when Xiao Chun looked back on the path he had taken, he was very glad that he had taken this step back then. At sunset, Xiao Chun suddenly opened his eyes, and a small black dot appeared in his eyes. As the black dot got closer, it turned into a graceful and gentle woman. It was the eldest senior sister, Shui Lingling. Xiao Chun raised his eyebrows and quickly stood up. For his eldest senior sister to rush over at this time, something urgent had to have happened. First senior sister, what's the matter for you to be in such a rush? Xiao Chun asked quickly after he stood up. Shui Lingling frowned somewhat worriedly. Her expression turned grave as she said, "The various factions of the deity Dao Union have already gathered in the Haotian province 3 days ago. After a round of ferocious attacks, They have already broken 9 of the 18 layers of formations in the periphery. What? When Xiaochen heard this, he was mildly startled. The thing that he worried about the most still happened ahead of time. However, this day would eventually come. Xiaochen's mental state was rather good. After a while he recovered. Xiaochen's expression recovered its calm. Without hesitation he said, "Do you need my help? As long as Big Brother Ing says the word, I can ask the many seniors of the heavenly starry ocean to help at any time." When Shui Lingling saw Xiaochen's expression, she felt moved in her heart. She smiled and said, "There's no need. It is not that time yet. It is just that we currently lack martial emperor experts to protect the formations. Master has already spoken with the Fox King, and is currently searching the entire Kunlun realm for Emperor Wu's help. He got me to come and see if Junior Brother can help." Xiaochen let out a soft cry of surprise, indicating that he understood. Right now, it was not the most crucial moment. Those holy lords were the final trump cards. There was no need to use them yet. Right now, they lacked ordinary martial emperor experts. Big Brother wanted to ask Xiaochen to help. It looked like the Haotian sect had indeed reached an exceptionally dangerous moment. Otherwise, Big Brother Ing would not have asked Xiaochen to help. "That's not a problem. I'll go with you after I report." Naturally, Xiaochen would not reject Big Brother Ying's request. He turned around and headed for the refining pavilion to inform them of this matter. In the refining pavilion, the expressions of the two girls changed drastically. They said at the same time, "No way. How can you go at this time? Your Lunar Shadow Saber and Cloud Moon Saber are only halfway merged. Let's wait for another 4 days." When Shui Lingling heard what happened, she revealed a gentle smile. It is good that Junior Brother is so kind. Since the Lunar Shadow Saber still needs another 4 days to merge, then wait for another 4 days. I'll just wait for Junior Brother in the Haotian sect. It's fine. I'll go back with you. Even without a saber in hand, I am confident of fighting with Emperor Wu. Xiaochen smiled faintly to comfort Big Brother Ing. Since Big Brother Ing sought him out, it meant that the situation was dire. He had to go. Perhaps nothing dangerous would happen in 4 days. However, if something did happen, it would be too late for regrets. Xiaochen did not want to regret it. In the refining pavilion, Mo Chun and Yu Bingyan exchanged glances and sighed helplessly. "Big Brother Xiaochen, wait for a while. Elder Sister Bingyan and I will come out soon. Don't be in a rush to leave yet." Mo Chen's voice came from inside. Could there be a turning point? Xiaochen turned his head to Shui Lingling and said, "In that case, let's wait for a while more." Shui Lingling nodded and said, "All right, I'll listen to Junior Brother." The two chatted as they waited. During this time, Shui Lingling gave a simple explanation of the Haotian sect's current situation. The Haotian sect could rely on only the Thunder and Lightning Palace to block the attacks of the 3 Holy Masters. Aside from the Haotian Prime, it also relied on the worldly mountain river Great Sun Formation. If the Grand Formation broke, it would be very hard to defend the Supreme Sky Sect's mountain just by relying on the Supreme Sky Prime alone. As Xiaochen listened to Shui Lingling's calm explanation, he could sense the overwhelming danger that the Haotian sect faced. Xiaochen became even more determined to rush over. No matter what, he had to do his part. 1 hour later, Yu Bingyan and Mo Chun worked together to carry a rectangular bronze box out of the refining pavilion. Buzz. After they landed by Xiaochen's side, they quickly put down the bronze box. The ground immediately shook, and their bodies trembled. Shui Lingling exclaimed in shock, "What is inside? It is so heavy." Mo Chun wiped the sweat off her forehead and panted. She said, "There is a formation in there. It contains 500 tons of frost flame. There is no way to put it in the universe ring." Xiaochen asked doubtfully, "What's going on?" Yu Bingyan explained, "Since you want to leave early, we can only think of a stupid method. After the new Lunar Shadow Saber absorbs all the frost flame, you will be able to use it. The advantage of this stupid method is that there is no need to worry. The disadvantage is that we do not know how long it will take to absorb all the frost flame. Perhaps 10 days, perhaps 1 month. So long? Isn't it just 4 days?" After Shui Lingling heard that, She felt somewhat guilty for interrupting Xiaochun's matters. It's fine. Xiaochun smiled and picked up the bronze box with one hand. It was indeed rather heavy. However, Xiaochun's physical body was comparable to that of many experts who focused on cultivating the physical body. It was not too difficult to pick it up. After making some preparations, Xiaochun carried the bronze box on his back. A warmth immediately came from the bronze box. This warmth turned into a warm flame flowing through the meridians in Xiaochun's body. His entire body felt warm. Grand mist energy automatically flowed out. With the help of this warm fire, his entire body felt warm. With the help of this warm flame, the primordial energy quickly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. Xiaochun's cultivation speed was about 20% faster than usual. Furthermore, it was very stable. The most important thing was that it was cultivating automatically. This bronze box was extraordinary. You can feel it now, right? This bronze box is the sword box of an ancient powerhouse. Now the treasure sword in it is no longer around. However, even if this sword box exists on its own, it is still a peak emperor grade secret treasure. Yu Bingyun said with a smile when she saw Xiaochun's expression. Xiaochun nodded and said, "It is indeed a treasure. At this rate, even if I am walking, it can still help me cultivate." Yu Bingyun said, "You like it? In that case, I'll give it to you. In the future, I'll tell you about the many other uses of this sword box." Most people would not dare to carry such a heavy sword box on their back. Not only would it slow down their movement technique, but it would also easily distract them. There were pros and cons. That was indeed the case. In that case, I'll leave with first senior sister first. No way. I already discussed it with elder sister Bingyun. This time I have to go with you. Emochan suddenly said in a resolute tone. Chapter 1356. Xiaochun simply could not convince Yu Bingyun and Emochan. In the end, he still brought the two girls with him, returning to the Supreme Sky Sect through the transportation formation with Shui Lingling. A light flickered, and the four appeared at the Haotian Sect's transportation formation at the same time. Xiaochun was rather familiar with the Haotian Sect's transportation formation. He had used it several times before, so he was familiar with the surrounding environment. As the four sized up the surroundings, they could feel the tense atmosphere in the air. Everyone's faces were solemn, and their brows were furrowed. "Greetings, first senior sister." "Greetings, Blue Dragon King." When the Haotian Sect disciples around the transportation formation saw the group appear, they bowed in greeting. Shui Lingling nodded slightly and walked out of the transportation formation. Immediately, a young disciple came over and said, "First senior sister, the sect master has been waiting for a long time already." "I got it. You may withdraw first." With Shui Lingling leading the way, the four soared into the air and flew towards Haotian City. The transportation formation was not far from Haotian City. In just a few breaths, the four saw the majestic Haotian City. The once familiar Haotian City was now filled with desolation. The ordinary people in the city had already evacuated, leaving behind only the Haotian Sect disciples. When the four approached the city gates, Xiaochun, Mo Bingyun, and Mo Bingyun immediately felt a sharp aura coming from the city walls, locking onto the three. It was like a terrifying, ferocious beast suddenly opening its eyes and locking onto the three. Xiaochun did not panic. He knew that this was a critical period, and the formation in the city must have been activated long ago. The people guarding the nodes of the formation did not know the three's identities, so they had to take precautions and could not be careless. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures tore through the air, each with a scarlet rope tied to their right arms. There was an ancient armband tied to the middle of the scarlet rope. Xiaochun had some impression of the one on the left. He was a blue-robed emperor elder of the Haotian Sect. However, he could not recall his name, having only seen him a few times. As for the one on the right, he was certain that he had never seen him before. He was also a blue-robed emperor-level character, and his body was filled with a thick aura of thunder and lightning. Xiaochun recalled that the Thunder and Lightning Palace was now stationed in the Haotian Sect. If he was right, it should be an elder from the Thunder and Lightning Palace. "Miss Shui, Please show me your token and armband to prove your identity. Shui Lingling frowned slightly but did not refuse. She took out her identity token. After memorizing the red armband, the two elders' expressions softened. They were so cautious because they were afraid that some Emperor Wu would change his appearance and sneak in. This is my junior brother, also the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen. The three of them don't have armbands yet, Shui Lingling explained. The Haotian sect's elder smiled and said, "It's fine. I'm afraid it's impossible to imitate the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen's temperament even if you wanted to. Lingling, it's enough that you can prove your identity. Here are 3 armbands. Give them to them." Shui Lingling received the armbands and handed them to the 3. She explained, "This red string armband looks simple, but it was personally refined by the sect master. Others cannot imitate it. With this armband, one can enter and leave the various formations of the Haotian sect at will. Once it is taken away, it will instantly burn with just a thought." After Xiaochen and the other 2 dripped their blood on the armbands, they bound them to their right arms. After passing the city walls, the 4 flew to the floating inner city. After a while, they passed through the layers of guards and arrived at the inner hall. A huge sand table was placed in the simple and unadorned inner hall. The sand table simulated the situation of the entire Haotian province. Different from ordinary sand tables, the one before them was a miniature version of the Haotian province. Furthermore, everything that happened in the Haotian sect was displayed in detail. It was very mystical. Xiaochen focused his gaze. After staring at it for a few seconds, the originally small scene in the sand table suddenly enlarged and was reflected in his mind. He could clearly see the teleportation formation outside the city. There were about 10 people standing outside the sand table. Apart from the Haotian priming Zongtian, Xiaochen did not recognize the rest. However, they were all experts at the level of Emperor Wu. It looked like anyone who could enter this inner hall either had a high status or had a cultivation similar to Emperor Wu's. Beside the Haotian prime stood a middle-aged man in purple robes. His entire body gave off a sharp light. Xiaochen only took one look and felt a huge pressure. Apart from this person, there were many other martial emperors present. All of them pressured Xiaochen. Even if he used his Dharma world, he might not be a match for those martial emperors. As they arrived, all the Emperor Wu raised their heads and looked at them. Ing Zongtian nodded with a smile when he saw Xiaochen. "Brother Xiaochen, you're fast. I originally expected you to arrive tomorrow. Since Big Brother Ing invited me, I'll naturally arrive as soon as possible." In front of the big shots, the atmosphere was terrifying. Xiaochen wore a calm expression and carried the bronze sword case on his back. His state of mind did not fluctuate at all. Many Emperor Wu present nodded in approval at his demeanor. It had to be known that when ordinary juniors saw a group of big shots like them, they would already be in a mess, unable to speak properly. "Let me introduce my friends here to you." Ing Zongtian introduced Xiaochen one by one. Apart from the Haotian sect and Emperor Wu of the Thunder and Lightning Palace, the others were friends that the Haotian sect had invited. As for the middle-aged man in purple robes that Xiaochen was particularly wary of, he was the deputy palace master of the Thunder and Lightning Palace. The Thunder King had not been in charge for a long time, so he had become the actual ruler of the Thunder and Lightning Palace. His name was Zishuan, and he had the cultivation of the 8th Heaven Emperor Wu. Xiaochen then realized that this person was Juanxi's father. No wonder he looked familiar. Then Ing Zongtian introduced the current situation to Xiaochen. The reinforcements of the Ghost race and the Shun race had arrived. Now the Haotian sect was completely on the defensive. The 18 layers of the Heaven-Earth-Mountain-River Great Sun Formation had been forced to 9 layers. The situation was extremely grim. With every layer that was broken, the Haotian sect's situation would become even more dangerous. Without saying much, Ing Zongtian said, "Little brother Xiaochen, I'm afraid I can't let you rest. Right now we are short on manpower. If it is convenient for you, can you help guard the 9th layer of the formation now?" Xiaochen nodded and said, "As you wish, big brother." Ing Zongtian revealed a smile on his face. He gently pointed at the sand table, and a scene leaped out from the sand table, appearing before the group. It was a lake in the Haotian prefecture called Maple Leaf Lake. It was one of the many nodes of the ninth layer of the formation. It was extremely important in the entire ninth layer. Take my token and go and take over this place. I'll leave Maple Leaf Lake to you. Zongtian handed the token to Xiaochen and said seriously. He had just arrived at the Haotian sect. Yet he was already sent to the front line. Xiaochen did not have any complaints. However, he lamented that the Haotian sect's situation was even worse than he had imagined. Zongtian, this Maple Leaf Lake is extremely important in the ninth layer of the formation. It is only second to the few core nodes. Once it is broken, it will implicate the entire ninth layer of the formation. Shouldn't we be more cautious? One of the martial emperors present said, worried about Xiaochen's strength. Zongtian smiled and said, I think it's a waste of little brother Xiaochen's talent to be placed here. My original intention was for little brother Xiaochen to fight the enemy martial emperors with us. Emperor Wu was shocked when he heard this. The Haotian sect currently had two battlefields. One was the battle for territory, which was the defense of the Heaven-Earth-Mountain-River Great Sun Formation. The other was the battle between the peak experts. This was more intense and ferocious than the former. Zongtian wanted Xiaochen to join the latter. Could it be that Xiaochen had the strength to fight against the greater celestial Emperor Wu? Xiaochen laughed when he heard this. Big brother is flattering me. However, I am confident that I can defend Maple Leaf Lake. Please rest assured, seniors. After saying this, he received the token and bowed before leaving the inner hall. Chapter 1357. Xiaochen knew about Maple Leaf Lake. Hence, he did not get anyone to lead the way and rushed over with the two girls. Along the way, Xiaochen did not see any ordinary people in the vast territory of the Haotian province. Many of the originally bustling cities were empty because they were not strategic nodes, looking desolate and cold. As Xiaochen flew, he spoke softly to the two girls. When he recalled the past scenes of the Haotian province, he sighed in his heart. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Occasionally, the Haotian sect disciples brushed past them. They all appeared to be in a hurry, appearing to be in a hurry. However, they all showed a common hatred for a common enemy, their fighting spirit still present. Suddenly, a group of people flew over from the front, coincidentally meeting with Xiaochen's group. When they looked up, both sides were slightly stunned. The person leading the group was tall and stout. His eyes contained a strong fighting spirit. The person beside this person had delicate features and looked ordinary. However, there was a black chi on his forehead. Xiaochen thought for a while, and quickly recalled the identities of these two. The stout one was Situgang, an outstanding talent from the battle realms. Unfortunately, he did not rise up. When Xiaochen first arrived at the Kunlun realm, he had sought trouble for Xiaochen. The one on the right was Zhuoyusher. When Xiaochen first arrived at the Kunlun realm, he had a good relationship with this person. However, Xiaochen discovered that this person did not have a firm heart for the Tao, so they broke off contact. The matters of the world were unpredictable. Unexpectedly, they met again today. Situgang felt somewhat bitter. When Xiaochen came out of the Kunlun realm, his cultivation was lower than Situgang's. Now the difference was like heaven and earth. Xiaochen had already become a truly major character. He founded the Dragon's Gate, and could compete with martial emperors. After a long time, Situgang and Zhuoyusher said together, "Greetings, Blue Dragon King." Xiaochen waved his hand and said, "There's no need. Just address me as Senior Brother Xiao. Based on your poor complexion, you must have just returned from the battlefield." Situgang nodded and said, "We just returned from Maple Leaf Lake. I'm fine, but Junior Brother Zhua is rather injured. His internal injuries are rather serious." Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat. What a coincidence. He went over and said, "Let me take a look." When Xiaochen placed his finger on Zhuoyusher's body, he immediately frowned. Death chi flowed through Zhuoyusher's meridians. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels had sustained significant damage. If he delayed any longer, his condition would worsen. Making a prompt decision, Xiaochen mobilized his primordial energy, and directly swept away this deathly chi as easily as breaking dry weeds. Puchi. Zhuo Yushi spat out a mouthful of black blood, and his complexion became much better. He hurriedly said, "Thank you, senior brother." Yu Bingyun stepped forward and handed Zhuo Yushi a bottle of medicinal pills. She said, "These are Yang Essence pills. They are very good for recovery for cultivators injured by death qi." Yang Essence pill. This is the Lunar Palace's holy medicine. Zhuo Yushi felt startled. When he looked up and saw Yu Bingyun's fairy-like appearance, he was shocked. "Are you the Lunar Palace's holy daughter?" Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, "Bingyun is no longer the holy daughter. Now, I am just an insignificant guest elder of the Dragon's Gate." Xiaochen was more concerned about the attack on Maple Leaf Lake. He asked Situ Gang, "Junior brother Situ, you said that Maple Leaf Lake was attacked earlier. What is the exact situation? Can you tell me more about it?" Situ Gang wondered why Xiaochen asked this. However, he still answered honestly. The deity Dao Union launched a surprise attack on Maple Leaf Lake's node. 2 corpse race Emperor Wu and many corpse race experts came at once. Right now the battle is in a stalemate. The elders said that the inner palace already sent new experts to hold down the fort. So they told us injured disciples to withdraw for now. Xiaochen nodded. After saying his goodbyes, he quickly rushed to Maple Leaf Lake with the 2 girls. As Zhuo Yushi and Situ Gang watched Xiaochen leave with the bronze sword box, they could not help revealing envious expressions. Once upon a time, Xiaochen had been on the same starting line as them. This was especially so for Zhuo Yushi. Back then he had been on pretty good terms with Xiaochen. Now, it looked like even the Lunar Palace's holy daughter had become Xiaochen's confidant. However, back then, Zhuo Yushi had hesitated over whether he should call her a friend or not. 1 hour later, Maple Leaf Lake appeared in Xiaochen's vision. It was a vast lake. On the mountain beside the lake, there were red maple trees as far as the eye could see. When the wind blew, fiery red maple leaves would fall like rain. This was how Maple Leaf Lake got its name. In the past, it was a famous scenic spot in the Haotian province. Now the peace of the lake was broken. A group of corpse race cultivators was on the lake. These corpse race cultivators controlled the demonic corpses unique to the corpse race to charge at the small island in the middle of the lake, wanting to uproot this node. 2 of the corpse race cultivators attracted Xiaochen's attention. These 2 people sat cross-legged on a coffin in the air, coldly watching the battle below. The 2 had a golden armband on their right arm, a stark contrast to the red armband of the Haotian sect. It was clear that the 2 corpse race Emperor Wu had not made a move yet. This was because the person in charge of Maple Leaf Lake had not used the power of the formation yet. The 2 corpse race Emperor Wu swept their gazes around and discovered Xiaochen and Mo Chen rushing over. Are the reinforcements sent by the Haotian sect? There is not even one Emperor Wu. To think that the Haotian sect looks down on the 2 of us. Old Yuan, I'll leave these 3 to you. I'll keep an eye on the situation below and see if there is an opportunity to severely injure this node. Whoosh! A dark-skinned, hemp-robed old man radiating death chi laughed maniacally as he quickly flew over on the coffin. In a few breaths, this old man arrived before Xiaochen. Insignificant blue-robed emperor. And you dare to come and provide reinforcements? Die. This hemp-robed old man was not willing to waste time with Xiaochen. He did not even bother to refine the demonic corpses under the coffin. He leaped up and flew toward Xiaochen, throwing a palm strike. A mysterious phenomenon immediately appeared. A skinny, white-bone hand crawled out of the mountain of corpses and sea of blood, looking exceptionally scary. Xiaochen's lips curled up in a smile. To think that the first Heaven Emperor Wu dared to be so arrogant before him. Truly, he must be tired of living. Carrying the bronze sword box on his back, Xiaochen did not move at all. With a flip of his hand, he sent out 1,000-year flame. Even after 1,000 cups of wine, the lofty sentiments and hot-bloodedness in one's chest were all in this 1 month. The bright moon was like fire. With the force of Xiaochen's palm strike, the bright moon descended from the sky and smashed into the mountain of corpses and sea of blood. The horrifying mysterious phenomenon immediately scattered. That hemp-robed old man was immediately covered in wounds. He flew back in a sorry state and landed on the coffin. Primordial energy. You, a blue-robed emperor, actually no primordial energy. You are Xiaochen, the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen. The hemp-robed old man on the coffin revealed a horrified expression. He no longer had any desire to fight, so he turned and fled. At the same time, he sent a voice projection to the other corpse race Emperor Wu. Quickly leave. Quickly leave. The Blue Dragon King Xiaochen is here. You and I are not a match for him. Quickly retreat. In the heavenly starry ocean, Xiaochen had even killed the fifth heaven greater heavenly Emperor Wu. This had caused a huge commotion in Emperor Wu's circle. Although they knew that Xiaochen had used some kind of magic treasure or secret technique, who knew if Xiaochen could do it again? These two corpse race emperors wanted to snatch military merits in this sneak attack. They were not willing to die here for nothing. It's him. The other corpse race emperor Wu was greatly startled. He shouted to the corpse race cultivators below, "Retreat!" The corpse race cultivators on the small island in the middle of the lake could not understand what was going on. They clearly held the advantage. Two Emperor Wus came to sneak attack this maple leaf lake. Why did they retreat? However, the higher-ups already gave the order, so they had no choice but to retreat. They immediately dove into the water, like the receding tide. The disciples on Maple Leaf Island were similarly shocked. They did not know what was going on. Why did the corpse race cultivators suddenly retreat in such a panic? Even the two corpse race Emperor Wus fled in panic. There was clearly no third Emperor Wu present. This meant that there was no Emperor Wu among their reinforcements. However, why did the other party suddenly retreat? I'll be right back, Xiaochen said to the two girls beside him. Then, he carried the bronze sword box on his back and executed the fish dragon art to give chase. If he let two first heaven Emperor Wus escape, then Xiaochen would not be able to forgive himself. Chapter 1358. Xiaochen carried the bronze sword box. Although his speed had decreased, his fish dragon art had already broken through the limits of space. In a few breaths, he caught up to the two fleeing corpse race Emperor Wu, who were less than 10 kilometers away. How can he be so fast? The two corpse race Emperor Wu were frightened into a fluster. They hardened their hearts and chose to take the risk of tearing space, intending to flee into the void to increase their speed. Without comprehending the state of space, traveling in the void was extremely dangerous. The space-time flow there was always present. If one was not careful, one would get struck by it. Otherwise, one would be sliced into countless pieces or forever lost in the space-time flow. Hence, although the Emperor Wu could tear space, he rarely used it when fleeing. He was afraid of panicking and getting struck by the space-time flow. Only when he was relatively calm would he choose to flee into the void and travel. Of course, this only applied to the Kunlun continent, where space was relatively stable. If they were in the boundless starry heavens, given sufficient time, they would not dare to casually tear space. If they were careless and triggered a starry heavens storm, they would not even have a corpse left. When Xiaochen saw this, he was not in a rush. Even when he entered the void, he was not in a hurry. Even if he fled into the void, these two Emperor Wu's speed would not be able to match his. As long as he attacked fast enough, he could force them out. Whoosh! Whoosh! Xiaochen's figure flashed twice in the air. Every time he stopped, he would throw a palm strike at the void. When Xiaochen threw a palm strike, the primordial energy infused with it shook the entire space. Every time Xiaochen threw a palm strike, he would knock a corpse race Emperor Wu out of the void. By the time Xiaochen threw two palm strikes, he had already arrived in front of the two corpse race Emperor Wu, blocking their path. The two corpse race Emperor Wu on the coffins showed extremely sullen expressions. The hemp-robed old man said, "Blue Dragon King, why are you in such a rush? If you force us into a corner, even if you kill us, you will suffer. Get out of the way. The two of us are willing to offer 50,000 origin essence stones." The amount of time that Emperor Wu could cultivate primordial energy was limited. Most of the time, he still cultivated the power of the demonic laws. Essence stones were the hard currency that Emperor Wu used. 50,000 primary essence stones was already a large sum of money. The two corpse clan Emperor Wu were also very sincere. Unfortunately, Xiaochen was not willing to accept this. Xiaochen said indifferently, "I can let you go, but you have to swear an oath to leave the Haotian state for 10 years. At Emperor Wu's level, he knew that the seemingly ethereal oaths and karmic luck, as well as the heavenly Tao, truly existed. An oath absolutely couldn't be made recklessly. Once it was violated, one would absolutely suffer a backlash from the heaven Tao. The two corpse race Emperor Wu did not say anything. They transmitted their voices to each other, discussing something. After a while, the hemp-robed old man snorted coldly and said, "You might not be too naive. The two of us came here to accumulate military merits. We want to obtain sufficient primordial pills and other treasures from the deity Tao Union to raise our cultivation. You can forget about leaving. In that case, there is no point in saying anything more." Xiaochen did not waste his breath. His figure flashed as he flew towards the hemp-robed old man, wanting to kill one of them first. A pained expression flashed in the hemp-robed old man's eyes. He slapped the coffin lid he sat on, and a demonic corpse with overwhelming death chi charged out. The other corpse race Emperor Wu also had a look of dissatisfaction in his eyes as he released the demonic corpse in the coffin. The two corpse race Emperor Wu intended to give up on the emperor-grade demonic corpse that they had worked so hard to refine to delay Xiaochen, and give themselves a chance to survive. Emperor-grade demonic corpses were not easy to refine. For the two to be able to steal their hearts and give up on them, they were extremely decisive. The demonic corpses did not fear death. They directly launched themselves at Xiaochen. Dense death chi spread from their bodies, dyeing the clouds in the sky pitch black like ink. Break. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes. If it were in the past, he would have found these inanimate objects with no spirituality extremely difficult to deal with. However, he now comprehended a saber domain. His saber intent was much stronger than before. When Xiaochen punched, 100 dragon force surged in his body. The saber intent in his sea of consciousness surged and gathered on his fist. The 100 dragons behind Xiaochen appeared and roared ferociously in unison. However, the moment Xiaochen punched, the sound of a treasured saber being drawn completely drowned out the dragon roars. Xiaochen punched like a saber, showing an unparalleled sharpness. The 100 dragon images behind him seemed to turn into sharp blades, forming a sharp saber wind. With two punches, Xiaochen shattered one of the demonic corpses that the other party valued. A berserk saber intent surged everywhere, shredding the demonic corpses into countless pieces. No matter what, they could not reform. The demonic corpses could not stop Xiaochen at all. Instead, they allowed his aura to soar higher. Xiaochen roared, and his body moved like a fish in water. Then, he turned into a dragon that went out to sea again. Xiaochen moved incredibly fast, catching up to the two corpse race Emperor Wu again. After Xiaochen got close, he brought out the Taiji force field. This time, the two corpse race Emperor Wu could no longer flee. Bang, bang, bang. In the air, Xiaochen fought one against two. However, he held the upper hand, suppressing the two corpse race Emperor Wu. On the island in the center of the lake, a purple-clad old man appeared somewhat entranced as he watched the scene in the air. The crowd of cultivators at the side was also somewhat dumbfounded by what they saw. White robes and white hair. It looks like this really is the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen. The rumors are true. Although our Thunder and Lightning Palaces in Juanxi and First Senior Sister Shui Lingling could defeat Emperor Wu, they did not seem to have it as easy as he did. Xiaochen forced the two corpse race Emperor Wu to the point where they could not even flee. This is simply incredible. How incredible! I wonder, why did the Blue Dragon King pass by our Maple Leaf Lake? As these people spoke, two girls in their prime flew over to the island. One wore a veil, making it impossible to make out her appearance. However, based on her graceful figure and her spirited eyes, it was clear that she was a great beauty. When the other girl's appearance became clear, everyone on the island was shocked. The purple-clad old man guarding this place felt it was strange. He asked, "Isn't that the Lunar Palace's holy daughter Yu Bingyan?" While it was strange, the two girls had the red armbands refined by the Haotian Prime on their arms. There was no mistaking their identities. The purple-clad old man led his subordinates out of the island in the center of the lake to welcome the two girls. "I am the Thunder and Lightning Palace's Elder Ma, guarding this island. Might I ask why the holy daughter is here?" Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, Now I am no longer the Lunar Palace's holy daughter. Elder Ma, there is no need to be so polite. This is my sister, the Dragon's Gate's Vice Sect Master, Mo Chun. The two of us are here to wait for someone. Wait for someone. The purple-clad old man looked at the battle in the sky and said subconsciously, "We are waiting for the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chun." Right. The Blue Dragon King received orders from the Haotian Prime to come and take over Maple Leaf Lake. The two of us can be considered to be accompanying him. Yu Bingyun explained softly. The moment Yu Bingyun said that, the purple-clad old man's group immediately revealed expressions of joy. They asked quickly, "Really?" "Of course. When the Blue Dragon King comes down later, you will be able to see the Haotian Prime's command token." Mo Chun smiled, her voice as pleasant as a flowing mountain stream. That's great. That's great. With the Blue Dragon King here, we will definitely be able to defend this node. That's right. In the past, we always bullied Maple Leaf Lake, because there was only one Emperor Wu. Now let's see who dares to sneak attack us. The purple-clad old man's group could not contain their joy. With Xiao Chun here, not only would the group's chances of survival increase significantly, but they might even be able to obtain many military merits. As the two of them were chatting, two violent explosions came from the sky. Rumble. The world shook, and pillars of water shot up into the sky. A black whirlpool storm appeared in the air. These were two corpse race Emperor Wus choosing to detonate their hearts of an emperor in despair. However, these two were only First Heaven Emperor Wus. Xiao Chun sensed them long ago and dodged far away, suffering only some aftershocks. Xiao Chun gently flung his sleeves, and a strong wind blew, scattering the dense black fog of death chi. Then his figure drifted down and landed on the island in the center of the lake. Greetings, Blue Dragon King. Such elegance convinced the many disciples on the island. When they saw Xiao Chun descend, they all bowed in greeting. By now, Xiao Chun was already used to these rules. He did not feel restrained, much less vain. Xiao Chun stepped forward and handed the Haotian Prime's command token to Elder Ma. After the purple-clad old man looked at it, he returned it to Xiao Chun. Then he said with a smile, "The Blue Dragon King truly lives up to his reputation. He killed 2 Emperor Wus with one move. That is enough to accumulate 100,000 military merits to exchange for 10 primordial pills." Xiao Chun felt startled, somewhat surprised. He had not expected that killing 2 Emperor Wus would be enough to exchange for 10 primordial pills. Chapter 1359. Blue Dragon King, this way please. I want to discuss the handover with you in detail. I will send someone to arrange lodgings for Miss Mo Chun and Miss Bingyun. What do you think? The purple-clad old man said respectfully. Although he was as strong as Emperor Wu, he had to be respectful to Xiao Chun, who easily killed 2 First Heaven Emperor Wu martial emperors. However, the purple-clad old man felt that the rumors were somewhat exaggerated. Based on the strength that the Blue Dragon King displayed, he was merely a peak minor Heavenly Emperor Wu. However, his emperor's might and aura were clearly weaker than the 4th Heaven Emperor Wu. Perhaps he had used some secret treasure or secret technique to kill a 5th Heaven martial emperor. Of course, no matter what, the peak minor Heavenly Emperor Wu was already sufficient for the purple-clad old man to be respectful to. There was no need to think too much. Xiao Chun nodded and followed the purple-clad old man to a pavilion on the island in the center of the lake. As for Mo Chun and Yu Bingyun, they were given a small courtyard near the pavilion. Inside the pavilion, the purple-clad old man brewed a pot of tea for Xiao Chun. After he personally filled it up, he said, "Blue Dragon King, it is like this. The handover is not complicated, but it is extremely important. However, it is very important, so do not be careless. I hope that the Azure Dragon King understands this responsibility." Xiao Chun nodded, indicating that he understood. "Elder Ma, there is no need to address me as Blue Dragon King. You can just call me by my name. Right now, we are all on the same side. There is no need to be so polite. There is no need to hide anything." Elder Ma smiled and said, "In that case, I will not stand on ceremony. Brother Xiao Chun, this is how it is. There are 2 main points to guarding this Maple Leaf Lake. The first is what you just experienced. Stopping the deity Dao Union's sneak attacks and destroying the nodes of the formation are rather common. The second point is that when the deity Dao Union launches a large-scale attack, activate the formation plate and resonate with the entire ninth layer of formations. Normally, this is the most troublesome aspect. Once the enemy launches an all-out attack, the pressure will be immense. Only by relying on formations can one withstand it. After saying that, Elder Ma handed a fiery red array card to Xiaoqun. The front side of the array card had mountains and rivers imprinted on it, while the back side had a fiery red sun. Xiaoqun took it, refined it again, and held it in his hand. Immediately, he felt that his entire body was connected to Maple Leaf Lake. In this Maple Leaf Lake, he was able to control a huge amount of energy. Both his offense and defense were greatly enhanced. This is the formation plate near Maple Leaf Lake. The Haotian disciples in the formation will be strengthened by the formation. Since you have the formation plate, the support you receive will be even greater, and you can summon the formation spirit to battle at any time. Elder Ma explained to Xiaoqun the various details of the array formation in detail. He was exceptionally serious in his explanation. Xiaoqun was naturally intelligent. He only needed to listen to it once before he understood most of it. All Xiaoqun needed to do was try a few times to understand the rest. Normally, these are the 2 points. Right now, we cannot lose even one layer of formations. If we lose one layer, the might of the formation will decrease significantly. The Haotian primes and those martial emperors will be able to draw less energy from the formation. Elder Ma smiled and said, however, with the Blue Dragon King guarding Maple Leaf Lake, this node should be fine. After that, they chatted for a while. Then Xiaoqun mentioned military merits. Earlier, Elder Ma casually mentioned the 10 primordial pills. Xiaoqun still remembered this. The primordial pills that the Flame Rock Sovereign obtained had greatly benefited Xiaoqun, giving him a deep understanding of the importance of primordial pills. Elder Ma said, since this is a battlefield, both sides will have military merits as incentives. I do not know about the deity Dao Union. The Haotian Prime said that if one kills a First Heaven Emperor Wu, they will be rewarded with 5 primordial pills. As you know, for primes, primordial energy has already been cultivated to the limits and cannot advance any further. Hence, they can easily refine primordial pills. Furthermore, I heard that before the Thunder King left, he handed a large number of primordial pills to the Haotian Prime. Hence, the military merits on our side are very bountiful. Elder Ma said enviously as he looked at Xiaoqun. As a fellow Emperor Wu, he naturally knew the wondrous effects of the primordial pill. After chatting for a while, Elder Ma took his leave. The other party still had many things to do, so Xiaoqun did not try to keep him. After Elder Ma left, Xiaoqun left the pavilion alone. He wanted to see for himself what the Haotian province had become. Maple Leaf Lake was actually very far from Haotian City. If it were an ordinary person even riding a horse, it would take 3 days and 3 nights. However, there was an even vaster territory in front of Maple Leaf Lake. That place used to be peaceful. At this moment, Xiaoqun stood at the summit of a tall mountain by the lake and looked into the distance. Everything he saw had turned into rubble. The cities, mountains, rivers were all destroyed beyond recognition. The deity Dao Union cultivators occupied the capital cities that were in better condition. The sky was dark, filled with the various warships of the deity Dao Union. Their banners fluttered loudly in the wind. As Xiaoqun stood on this tall mountain and looked at all this, he felt how insignificant his individual strength was. In such a large-scale battle, his individual strength was extremely limited. Even if he was just in this 9th layer of formations, he would not be able to play a decisive role. He could only do his best. The battlefront was too long and involved too many cultivators. He could only rely on the strength of a team. Xiaoqun watched for a long time on this tall mountain filled with maple trees. Then he stepped back and walked on Maple Leaf Lake. The sun set in the west, and the stars flickered. Night arrived quietly. Xiaoqun calmed himself and started practicing the first move of the flawless saber technique, the void-breaking stance, on Maple Leaf Lake. At the same time, he quietly comprehended to see if he could come up with the second move. Thus he was rather free. As for the deity Dao Union's headquarters, which was responsible for destroying the formations, it was a different scene. In a small room, the four greater heavenly Emperor Wu of the corpse race, ghost race, deity race, and human race sat in the front row. A group of minor heavenly Emperor Wu followed behind them. There were a total of 4 greater heavenly Emperor Wu and 46 minor heavenly Emperor Wu in this room. Nearly all the Emperor Wu that the deity Dao Union sent to destroy the formations were gathered here. As for the stronger Emperor Wu, they were like the Haotian sect, coordinating with each other. This was not the time for them to make a move yet. In reality, this was also a formless contest. The side that could not hold on first would send out the peak Emperor Wu, and that side would immediately fall into a disadvantageous position. For example, if the Haotian sect's formations could no longer hold on, they would need to send out the greater heavenly Emperor Wu to put out the fire. As for the deity Dao Union's greater heavenly Emperor Wu, he would smile like a flower, watching these greater heavenly Emperor Wu exhaust their energy. When the other side was almost exhausted, it would be much easier for the deity Dao Union to make a move. 2 of the corpse race's Emperor Wu died in the direction of Maple Leaf Lake. This is somewhat abnormal. None of the corpse race cultivators that accompanied them returned alive. This is already somewhat abnormal. We have to figure this out. Otherwise, it will affect the overall attack tomorrow. The deity race's greater heavenly Emperor Wu, who sat in the middle, was called Lung Zhengyang. He was the nominal commander of the allied army of the 4 races. What is there to check? The corpse race's Emperor Wu was only average in the first place. He was greedy and took risks. Due to his carelessness, he ended up getting wiped out. I think this is quite normal, the ghost race's greater heavenly Emperor Wu said with a smile, not minding it. This infuriated the corpse race's greater heavenly Emperor Wu. Everyone knew that the corpse race and the ghost race were not on good terms. It would be strange if they did not fight when they met. Lung Zhengyang shook his head and looked at the human race's greater heavenly Emperor Wu. An elder of the Phoenix's Passion Palace asked, "Brother Qianxing, what do you think?" This old man's name was Su Qianxing. He held a high position in the Phoenix's Passion Palace. This deity race martial emperor did not dare to underestimate him. Su Qianxing said, "It is not a big deal. Maple Leaf Lake is not the main node. Our primary target is still Meteor Trail City. That is the main node of the 9th layer." Good. It is settled, then. The plan for tomorrow's overall attack will not change. We will do our best to destroy the 9th layer of formations within half a month. Chapter 1360. As Xiaochen walked over Maple Leaf Lake, he practiced the first move of the flawless saber technique, the void-breaking stance. After a few more deductions, his comprehension of this move became more and more perfect. The various aspects of this move became increasingly clear in his mind. The initial void-breaking stance was simply infusing all the energy into the saber domain, with the flawless saber Dao. After that, he used the explosive power of the 3 sabers to draw out this saber strike, achieving a miraculous killing power. Previously, the Cloud Moon Saber broke. Although the Cloud Moon Saber took the initiative to seek death, it also had something to do with the might of Xiao Chen's saber strike. If it were another person given a chance to break, the saber in their hand would still break. This was because that person was Xiao Chen, the Xiao Chen who walked out of his own flawless saber Dao. When he executed the void-breaking stance, he used the saber to control space, shocking the heavens. That time, the void-piercing slash was executed in a hurry and was completely improvised. As a result, no matter how he tried, he could not achieve the effect of using the saber to control space. However, as Xiaochen continued to perfect it, this saber strike had already taken form. As long as he continued to practice it and reached consummation, it would naturally achieve the effect of using the saber to control space. More importantly, he had already completely comprehended this move. He could start comprehending and practicing the next move. Xiaochen already had a vague idea of the second move of the flawless saber technique. The day it took form was not far away. Whoosh! 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 2 graceful figures flew over the calm lake surface. They were Mo Chun and Yu Bingyun, who had settled down, flying over to him. At this moment, it was almost dusk. The two girls flew over close to the lake's surface, basking in the light of the setting sun. She moved through the fiery red maple leaves. Her exquisite figure was like that of a fairy. Xiaochen revealed a smile as he stopped comprehending and stood up to welcome the two girls. After walking around, what do you think? Emochen asked with a smile. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said, to think that you can still smile. Furthermore, you are still comprehending and cultivating. It looks like your mental state is rather stable. With the army approaching, it is already pretty good that you can remain so calm. The two women asked and answered, and Xiaochen said what he wanted to say, but he didn't know what to say. After pondering for a moment, Xiaochen said, adapt to the circumstances and do your best. Although the deity Dao Union was strong, it was not without weaknesses. It looks astonishing and covers the sky, but it might really be to hide the fear in their hearts. If they could bear the price, they would have launched an all-out attack long ago. How so? The two women looked at each other. They both felt that Xiaochen's words had a hidden meaning, and they seemed to have discovered something. That's right. After walking around, Xiaochen did find something. He said, the deity Dao Union is very strong, at least twice as strong as the Haotian sect and the Dragon's Gate combined. But they haven't launched an all-out attack yet. They only want to take down the Haotian sect at the lowest cost. It might seem safe, but it exposes the schemes between the various powers. No one is willing to make more sacrifices, afraid that they will have to bear the price. This is our chance. The true strength of a force can't be judged by its appearance, but by its internal sharpness. After pausing for a moment, Xiaochen continued, if a person loses his sharpness, he will lose his sharpness. If a faction loses its sharpness, no matter how strong it is, it will just be a pile of loose sand. You sound like that makes sense, Emochen said with a mischievous smile. In that case, big brother Xiaochen, have you thought of any way to defeat the enemy? Can you share it with us? When Xiaochen heard this, he was stunned at first. Then he laughed loudly and said, little girl, why are you always so smart? I can't bring you out any more in the future. After saying that, the three started laughing. Xiaochen had said so much. While it seemed like he made sense, it was actually all futile. They could only do their best. However, this was not the main point. What was important was the mentality of the three. Even in such a precarious situation, they could still laugh heartily, looking down on everything. In life, how could everything go as one wished? There was a way to resolve everything. One just had to adapt to the situation and do one's best, doing one's best. Bathed in the afterglow of the setting sun, the three used the lake as a table. As the maple leaves drifted about, they tasted wine and chatted leisurely. Boom! When the sky brightened, rumblings suddenly came from the distance. Following that, it sounded like thunder rumbling endlessly. Xiaochen stood up and looked into the distance. Then he muttered to himself, they are really fast. He felt somewhat nervous in his heart and somewhat expectant at the same time. In a moment, he would personally witness this great battle, one that the Kunlun continent rarely saw in 10,000 years. Big brother Xiaochen, is the deity Dao Union attacking? Emochen asked softly. Xiaochen nodded and said, they are. However, this place does not seem to be the main focus. Let's return to the island in the center of the lake first. Right. The three gently pushed off the ground and flew to the island in the center of the lake. The many disciples on the island were already prepared. Clearly, this was not their first time experiencing such a scene. The purple-clad old man quickly flew over to Xiaochen's side and asked for Xiaochen's instructions. Xiaochen said politely, "Old sir, there is no need to do this. I'll leave everything to you. If a strong enemy attacks, I'll fight them personally." Combat was Xiaochen's forte. However, when it came to commanding, he felt that he was still much weaker. When the purple-clad old man heard that, he revealed a smile on his face. It is rare for brother Xiaochen to be so magnanimous. In that case, this old man will do as you say. Blue Dragon King, please hold the line. Just leave everything else, big or small, to this old man. Xiaochen nodded. This was the effect that he wanted as well. This was to his liking. After 10 breaths, the deity Dao Union's warships appeared in Xiaochen's vision. The largest warship headed straight for the core node of the ninth layer, Meteor Trail City. It did not pay much attention to Maple Leaf Lake. Whoosh! In the next moment, the ancient demonic energy cannons on the warship tilted down. Beams of gorgeous light crisscrossed, looking like rain as they descended on the various nodes of the ninth layer. Whoosh! Meteor Trail City sent out surging energy to the left and right of the warship. Closely following that, the various nodes of the ninth layer activated the formation plates in their hands. The ninth layer of the worldly mountain river Great Sun Formation formed a circle. The various nodes were at least 500,000 kilometers away from each other. However, at this moment, with the activation of the formation, all the nodes were tightly connected. Mountains, rivers, and cities occupied the nodes of the formation, all of them tightly connected. As Xiao Chen stood in the middle of the formation, after Meteor Trail City activated the formation, he infused law energy into it. Rumble. As for the situation elsewhere, Xiao Chen did not know. All he could see was a blurry barrier appeared in the sky above Maple Leaf Lake, blocking the incoming ancient demonic energy cannons. The lake water surged, and pillars of water soared into the sky. An enormous explosion echoed throughout the heavens and earth, deafening the crowd. The entire world seemed to tremble. At this moment, the land for millions of kilometers around did not remain calm. The ground was like the sea, rising and falling, with surging waves. No matter where one stood, one could feel the strength of the wind and waves. The Haotian sect and Thunder and Lightning Palace disciples on the island in the center of the lake showed anxious expressions as they grasped their weapons, waiting for the upcoming battle. Xiao Chen closed his eyes. His white robes and hair did not change at all. After a while, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. The 4 deity Dao Union warships in front flew straight for Maple Leaf Lake. The many deity Dao Union cultivators descended from the warships and charged towards Maple Leaf Island. Xiao Chen formed hand seals and infused a strand of primordial energy into the formation plate. Immediately, the cultivators on the island received the support of the formation. Their bodies glowed with a sun-like light, looking as warm as the sun. The deity Dao Union cultivators who landed on the lake all radiated sinister auras. Their complexions were pale, looking like spirits from hell. These were all Ghost Race cultivators. 4 Ghost Race Emperor Wu stood on the bows of the 4 warships, looking coldly at Maple Leaf Lake with sinister expressions. They are Ghost Race cultivators. Panic appeared on the faces of the disciples on the island. The enemies that they did not want to run into the most were Ghost Race cultivators. The methods of the Ghost Race were mysterious and unfathomable. Aside from cultivating death chi, they could also use human souls to fight, inspiring great fear in others. The purple-clad old man on the island in the center of the lake also showed shock on his face. Why are the Ghost Race cultivators not attacking Meteor Trail City, but coming to our Maple Leaf Lake? Chapter 1361. The Ghost Race cultivators gave Xiao Chen a headache. If only he had not used up the Taoist divine lamp in the Yellow Springs Hell. Fortunately, Xiao Chen's mental energy had increased significantly. He even condensed a dermic incarnation in the depths of his sea of consciousness, which gave him strong resistance to the attacks of the spirits. More importantly, his mental state was now stable. The Ghost Race's methods should have difficulty affecting him. Outside the invisible barrier, hundreds of Ghost Race cultivators formed hand seals at the same time. As the Ghost Race cultivators' hands moved, evil spirits of various shapes appeared. Some of the strong cultivators even summoned 4 or 5 spirits in one go, looking exceptionally scary. With the appearance of these specters and evil spirits, the temperature of Maple Leaf Lake dropped a little more. A chill spread to the island. Several disciples trembled in the depths of their bones. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. This won't do. Before the battle started, they were already afraid. Even with the support of the formations, they would not have much of an advantage. One should not underestimate these hundreds of Ghost Race cultivators. Although the strongest among them was the blue-robed emperor, when they worked together, they only had the ability to kill Emperor Wu. When Xiao Chen fought with the Ghost Race Emperor Wu, these Ghost Race cultivators broke through the island and destroyed the nodes of the formations. Even if Xiao Chen killed all 4 of the other party's Emperor Wus, he would still be the one defeated. In such a huge battle, one had to consider the overall situation. Blue Dragon King, do you have any ideas? The purple-clad old man asked worriedly as he stood beside Xiao Chen. He had not expected so many ghost race cultivators to charge to Maple Leaf Lake. Xiao Chen shook his head. There was no way to quickly dispel his fear of the ghost race cultivators. He could only think of other ways. Let's end the battle quickly and minimize our losses. Later, Bingyan, Emochen, accompany Elder Ma to fight. Deal with these ghost race cultivators before they reach the island. I will deal with their Emperor Wu. The moment Xiao Chen said that, Elder Ma, Yu Bingyun, and Emochen looked at him in shock. The purple-robed old man said, "That won't do. They are 4 Emperor Wu, and I'm one of them. It should be Emperor Wu of the 3rd heavenly layer, and Emperor Wu of the Ghost clan. I have to help you." Xiao Chen said, "Elder Ma, you don't have to worry about me. Even if I can't defeat them, I can still protect myself." Given the current situation, Xiao Chen's plan was the best solution. The other side would never have imagined that Xiao Chen would dare to take on all 4 of them by himself. Let Elder Ma, this Emperor Wu, participate in the battle below Emperor Wu. As long as he eliminated or repelled the 100 ghost race warriors on the lake, the other side would have to retreat even if they did not want to. So. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, hundreds of ghost race cultivators appeared on the lake, leading even more specters and malicious spirits. After entering the range of the formation, he charged at the island in the middle of the lake with surging killing chi. The instant the ghost race cultivators entered the range of the formation, their auras and speed weakened visibly. This was the might of the formation. However, when facing the ghost race, their auras were not very strong. Since that was the case, they could only forcefully bring out their auras. Before Elder Ma could say anything, Xiao Chen soared into the sky, heading for the warship carrying the ghost race's 3rd heaven Emperor Wu. Before Elder Ma could recover from his shock, he saw half of the flag falling from the sky. The instant Xiao Chen charged onto the warship, he killed the 2 ghost race cultivators guarding the banner. Then he chopped off the banner with a palm strike. Immediately, the disciples of the Haotian sect and the Thunder and Lightning Palace on the island were startled. After being stunned for a while, they recovered their wits and cheered. "It's the Blue Dragon King." The Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen, came out and chopped off the other side's banner. When the ghost race cultivators who had been charging forward saw the banner suddenly fall, they all paused. Their charging footsteps paused for a moment. How can this be? The banner broke in an instant. Who is this person? He is very fast. Panic spread in the hearts of these ghost race cultivators, and their auras immediately weakened. Emo Chun, who was beside Elder Ma, stepped forward and said, "Elder Ma, if we do not fight now, when will we?" A brilliant light flashed in Elder Ma's eyes. His emperor's might spread out as he shouted, "Disciples guarding the island in the middle, heed my orders. The Blue Dragon King has already chopped off the other side's banner. We will definitely win this battle. Everyone, come with me and kill all these ghost race cultivators." Kill. With Xiao Chen chopping off the banner and Elder Ma and the 2 girls leading the charge, the many disciples on the island in the middle burned with fighting spirit, charging forward with a flourishing aura. A fierce battle broke out on the vast lake surface in an instant. When Xiao Chen suddenly appeared in the sky and chopped off the banner, the ghost race Emperor Wu, who stood on the bow of the warship, showed an extremely sullen expression. The black-robed Emperor Wu's pale face filled with murderous intent. He looked at Xiao Chen and said coldly, "I was wondering what was going on. The 2 corpse race Emperor Wu never returned. It turns out that the famous Blue Dragon King is here." The white-robed Xiao Chen, who carried a bronze sword box on his back, stood on the warship's railing. Aside from the broken banner, there were also the corpses of 2 ghost race martial sages. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "There is no need to delay. I'll give you a chance to bring your companions over." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A figure flew over from each of the other 3 directions. The ghost race Emperor Wu from the other 3 warships appeared at the same time. They each took a position and surrounded Xiao Chen. The black-robed Emperor Wu at the front was a 3rd heaven martial sage. He did not fear Xiao Chen. When he saw his companions coming over, he smiled and said, "It is good to be courageous. However, being too courageous makes one arrogant and ignorant. The ghost race is far stronger than you imagine. Today is the day you die. Remember this old man's name, Su Muqing." With his companions here, Su Muqing no longer bothered speaking nonsense with Xiao Chen. His figure flashed, and he charged over like a phantom. Su Muqing's footsteps were swift, and his afterimages flickered. It was like there were 3 people moving. It was hard to tell which was real and which was fake. When Xiao Chen got close, he discovered a specter with auras no weaker than his own on each side. While it looked like only one person made a move, there were actually 3 strong Emperor Wus attacking at the same time. The other 3 Ghost Race First Heaven Emperor Wus also took advantage of the situation to charge over at this moment. Each of them had an Emperor-grade specter that was no weaker than the main body. The situation immediately turned into 9 against 5. No wonder this Su Muqing did not panic when facing Xiao Chen at all. This was a critical moment. There was no time for Xiao Chen to think. Xiao Chen's figure moved left and right. It looked like he had 2 more clones, clashing with the attacks of Su Muqing and his 2 specters. Bang! The 3 sounds of fighting overlapped. Su Muqing took 10 steps back, and the 2 specters each took 100 steps back. The afterimages merged, and Xiao Chen stood at the warship's railing. He did not move back at all, and his robes fluttered loudly. Only then did Xiao Chen discover that Xiao Chen did not have any clones. It was just that he was too fast. After attacking 3 times, the afterimages did not have time to fade away, giving the illusion of him splitting into 3. What vast primordial energy! This fellow has not advanced to Martial Emperor yet. How does he have such accumulations? Su Muqing felt startled in his heart. He revealed a grave expression as he shouted, "Don't hold anything back. Kill him directly. The contribution we will make will be much greater than conquering Maple Leaf Lake." Xiao Chen, who was at the bow, did not have much time to rest. He had just knocked back Su Muqing when the other 3 Ghost Race Emperor Wu's specters surrounded him. Xiao Chen stood at the warship's railing, using his palm as a saber. His figure was like a fallen leaf in the wind, swaying up and down. Xiao Chen faced the Ghost Race Emperor Wu's relentless barrage of attacks like a storm. Xiao Chen's body seemed unsteady at times, falling over. However, the moment he was about to fall, he suddenly straightened up like a dragon. Xiao Chen tumbled back and forth, swaying left and right. Occasionally, he stood on one leg and spun around. Xiao Chen's figure changed unpredictably, leaving behind countless afterimages. In this small space, he brought out the fish dragon art to its limits. It looked like there were thousands of changes, but in reality, his feet had not moved at all from start to finish. Xiao Chen brought out the profoundness of the fish dragon art to its fullest. Several of the attacks looked like they had struck him. However, he was like a fish in the water, separated by a layer of water. Being hit was just an illusion, but in reality, he had still brushed past Xiao Chen. "Big brother Su, the brothers below can't hold on any longer." A Ghost Race Cultivator, who was distracted by the battle below, asked somewhat anxiously. His mental state had clearly turned anxious. Su Muqing said coldly, "Don't worry about it. As long as we kill him, we'll make a huge profit. I don't believe that he can outlast the 4 of us. No matter how profound his movement technique is, this old man will drag him to death." During the intense battle, Xiao Chen fought to his heart's content. When he heard this, he said coldly, "That's right. Indeed, I cannot outlast the 4 of you by myself. However, when did I say that I would definitely outlast you? From the start to the end, it has been me, Xiao Chen, delaying you, not you delaying me." When Su Muqing heard that, his expression changed. Before he could react, he saw a powerful saber intent within 1 kilometer of Xiao Chen. Suddenly, a powerful saber intent with unparalleled sharpness appeared in that strange force field. That was the result of Xiao Chen merging his saber domain and the Taiji force field. Saber intent gathered in Xiao Chen's eyes. His clothes fluttered, and his aura suddenly changed. It was like his body was a powerful treasure saber with a wanton sharpness. Xiao Chen ferociously pushed with his left and right hands. A melodious saber hum came from his body and spread throughout the place, like a treasure saber being unsheathed. As Xiaochen pushed with his hands, the incoming saber intent turned into a strong wind, pressing at the four ghost race Emperor Wu. The sharpness of this saber intent inspired fear. The four ghost race cultivators, who had been attacking Xiaochen non-stop, saw a saber light flash before their eyes. A saber light flashed before everyone's eyes. When they saw the incoming saber wind, their attacks paused, and they had no choice but to block. When Xiaochen pushed with his hands, it was like a treasure saber being unsheathed. The fighting spirit in his heart blazed like a blazing fire, burning endlessly with hot-bloodedness. Many thanks to the four of you for your relentless attacks, turning the situation around on this island in the center of the lake. It has been hard on you. This Xiao will borrow your heads again. Xiaochen laughed loudly, filled with lofty sentiments. Then he kicked ferociously, and the huge king-grade warship under his feet exploded. The few Emperor Wus exchanged moves in the sky, causing the clouds to churn and the sky to change color. Countless mysterious phenomena appeared in the clouds. As Xiaochen laughed, winds blew and clouds churned, shaking the surroundings. Normally, this would definitely attract the attention of many cultivators. However, at this moment, such scenes were happening everywhere in the Haotian province. The phenomenon before them was just an inconspicuous wave amidst the surging waves of phenomena. However, there was no rush. After this battle, this unremarkable wave would kick up a huge wave with the support of the Blue Dragon King's name. Chapter 1362. Following the King-class battleship's violent explosion, the entire void began to shake violently. Xiaochen, who had been defending, suddenly turned sharp. The merger of the Saber domain and the Taiji force field was the start of Xiaochen's transition from defense to offense. Xiaochen's figure flashed as he dodged Su Muqing's attack. Then he arrived before the ghost race Emperor Wu, who was only a first heaven martial emperor. Using his palm as a saber, Xiaochen executed a profound martial technique. For thousands of years, the dynasty will not be destroyed. As he chopped down with the force of his palm, many cities, rivers, and mountains materialized under Xiaochen's feet. When Xiaochen got close, an imperial city appeared under his feet. As he stood at the peak of the imperial city, he gathered the luck of a dynasty. Many figures knelt in the tens of thousands of cities, rivers, and mountains for tens of thousands of kilometers, shouting "Long live!" Invisibly, Xiaochen's aura soared up again. The cultivator that Xiaochen attacked felt space and time change. He felt like he was not facing a person, but a bona fide dynasty. Before that aura, the cultivator suddenly felt an urge to kneel and worship, scaring him into breaking out in a cold sweat. After the cultivator recovered his senses, he quickly retreated. However, he was shocked to discover that the surrounding air was as viscous as water. The ripples in the air even twisted space slightly. Space was like water, so one could use water as a saber. As a result, this ghost race Emperor Wu found it extremely difficult to take even one step back. Furthermore, he had to face the ever-present yet formless saber qi. After taking just 10 steps back, several wounds appeared on his body. Left without a choice, a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. Then he led the Emperor-grade Spectre beside him and roared ferociously as he clashed with Xiaochen's saber. Spectre burst. Emperor Wu shouted, and the eyes of the Emperor-grade Spectre beside him suddenly turned scarlet. Then it charged straight at Xiaochen. Bang! The Spectre directly exploded. A formless soul storm burst out like a tsunami, instantly charging into Xiaochen's mind. Confusion appeared in his eyes for a moment, and his movements slowed down. "You bastard! You caused me to lose an Emperor-level Spectre. I want your life." That ghost race Emperor Wu was heartbroken. It wasn't easy to raise an Emperor-level Spectre. It was his lifeblood. Seeing the confusion in Xiaochen's eyes, he roared furiously and charged at Xiaochen. However, it was this decision that caused him to lose his life. If he had taken the opportunity to leave, he would have been able to live. Life and death are often separated by a thin line. Xiaochen's boundless sea of consciousness suddenly surged in. Hordes of evil spirits practically occupied the entire space in his sea of consciousness. They turned into a tsunami, trying to occupy the entire sea of consciousness. It directly devoured Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness, turning him into a living dead with only a physical body but no soul. At this moment, tens of millions of negative emotions rushed into his mind. Xiao Chen felt a headache coming on. He was momentarily at a loss and was on the verge of death. However, at this critical moment, the azure-robed dermic incarnation with a startling baleful aura in his sea of consciousness suddenly drew his saber. A saber light swept through the entire sea of consciousness like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. This saber light was like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. Thousands of negative emotions died under this saber light. When the Ghost Race Martial Emperors arrived before Xiao Chen, they suddenly discovered that the Ghost Race Martial Emperors had already arrived. A vicious light flashed in Xiao Chen's confused eyes. Before he could react, Xiao Chen's saber, which had paused for a moment, chopped down. How can this be? You are not of the deity race. How can you resist the soul storm of an emperor-level specter's self-detonation? This startled the Ghost Race Emperor Wu. He had not expected Xiao Chen to wake up so quickly. Xiao Chen said coldly, "There are many things that you do not know." Xiao Chen's palm descended, and a saber light of the dynasty's luck materialized. This made his palm radiate a saber light even more dazzling than the sun. Whoosh! The resplendent saber light directly knocked back the Ghost Race Emperor Wu, causing him to vomit blood. Xiao Chen stepped forward, and electric light burst out from under his feet. Then he punched again. 100 dragon force surged out and exploded this person's body. The physical bodies of the ghost race were much weaker than those of the corpse race in the first place. The ghost race was already severely injured in the first place. Now that Xiao Chen punched again, he naturally did not even have a corpse left. The heart of an emperor shattered, and a large amount of life essence scattered. Specks of light fell like rain. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed, moving like a fish in water. At the critical moment, he dodged Su Muqing, who came to help. Then, like a dragon swinging its tail, Xiao Chen moved as fast as lightning. Su Muqing's reinforcements arrived too late. When he saw the ghost race martial emperor die without a corpse, his expression turned extremely sullen. As Su Muqing watched Xiao Chen's figure flicker like a saber light, appearing and disappearing, he forced the other two ghost race martial emperors into a fluster. Su Muqing immediately felt dispirited. Only now did Su Muqing discover that Xiao Chen had been holding back all this time. Xiao Chen had not been delayed at all. Instead, he had forcefully delayed the four of them. This caused the ghost race martial emperors below to suffer a crushing defeat. Under the lead of Elder Ma and Mo Chun, the two women, the ghost race martial emperors slaughtered their way out. "Let's go. I'll block him." Su Muqing was extremely decisive. Once he made up his mind, he did not hesitate to charge over and block Xiao Chen. Right now, Su Muqing only had one thought. He could not allow the losses to continue increasing. This time, he completely admitted defeat. "Elder Su, many thanks." "Elder Su, take care." The two ghost race martial emperors heaved a sigh of relief. Then they quickly turned and fled, not daring to linger for even a moment. Xiao Chen was currently in a killing frenzy. He used the Taiji Saber domain to fight the two ghost race martial emperors and two emperor-level specters alone, forcing them into retreat. After Xiao Chen heard Su Muqing's words, he immediately felt disappointed. The other party did not let anger get to his head. This somewhat exceeded his expectations. As long as Su Muqing still hoped to get lucky and kill Xiao Chen, then Xiao Chen would have no problem killing two more ghost race First Heaven Emperor Wu. Now that the other party realized his mistake and blocked him, allowing the other ghost race Emperor Wu to flee, Xiao Chen could only sigh. After all, Xiao Chen could not use his saber right now. He also did not want to expose his Dermic World trump card, so he did not have the ability to take down Su Muqing instantly. After withdrawing his aura, Xiao Chen showed no intention of giving chase. He looked at Su Muqing and smiled. "You are a smart person. Even after suffering such losses, you can still maintain your final bit of rationality." Su Muqing gritted his teeth in hatred. This time, Xiao Chen had tricked him too badly. When he heard Xiao Chen's words, he wanted to eat Xiao Chen alive. "Don't give me a chance. If you give me a chance, I will definitely pull out your soul," and let you experience all sorts of torture. After saying that, Su Muqing prepared to turn and leave. He was a peak third heaven Emperor Wu. He believed that if he left, Xiaochen would not be able to do anything to him. Xiaochen retorted coldly, "Who allowed you to leave? What's wrong? Are you thinking of keeping me here?" Su Muqing turned around and said with a mocking smile, "I have a rough idea of your strength. You are just a peak minor heavenly Emperor Wu. You are just relying on the advantage of that mysterious force field and the saber domain. If you really force me into a corner, you will be the one crying indiscriminately." Su Muqing smiled coldly, thinking that he had seen through Xiaochen and had nothing to fear. Xiaochen smiled and said, "You are right. However, you are only half right. If you want to leave, you will have to receive a saber strike from me first. If you cannot receive it, then there is no need for you to leave today." Right after Xiaochen spoke, the area within 1 kilometer of him suddenly turned pitch black. When Xiaochen reappeared, he brought with him a saber light that was even more dazzling and resplendent than the sun. He soared into the air in an unparalleled manner, and sent out a palm strike. This was the first move of the flawless saber technique, void-breaking stance. The smile on Su Muqing's face froze. He had not expected Xiaochen to erupt with such a sudden saber strike. The intense saber light immediately blinded Su Muqing, making him see only a hazy light. Within the hazy saber light, a figure bathed in golden light appeared, looking like a deity. In a moment of desperation, a beam of light shot out of Su Muqing's body and formed an ancient stone pagoda, encasing him within. This was Su Muqing's life-saving trump card. At a crucial moment, it could block the full power strike of an ordinary greater heavenly Emperor Wu. Kasie, Kai. The saber light landed, and the stone pagoda shattered, turning into countless shards shooting in all directions. Pitch-black cracks appeared in space, densely packed and even more complicated than a spiderweb. With his life-saving trump card shattered, blood leaked out of a corner of Su Muqing's lips. He was frightened into a fluster and quickly fled. At this instant, Su Muqing regretted what he said earlier. If he had another chance, he absolutely would not have stopped Xiaochen and let his companions flee first. Xiaochen watched Su Muqing flee miserably. Then he scattered the saber light and the Taiji force field around him. Then he said calmly, "I hope that you will be as lucky next time." This fellow actually had a defensive emperor-grade secret treasure. Otherwise, that saber strike would have taken half his life. Chapter 1363. Emperor Wu killed 1 fleeing, and 3 more fleeing. The ghost race cultivators below nearly all died. No matter how one looked at it, this was a complete victory. Xiaochen gently drifted down and landed on the lake. Elder Ma was currently directing the cultivators to clean up the ghost race corpses, and some more trophies on the lake's surface. When Elder Ma saw Xiaochen land, he immediately flew over with a smile. "Little brother Xiaochen, you are really something. This battle was really delightful." Xiaochen had a clearer understanding of reality. He smiled softly and said, "It is just that the deity Dao Union does not know that I am here. Next time, when the other party is prepared, it will be much more difficult." Elder Ma thought for a while, and his face sank. "It looks like I rejoiced too early. However, no matter what, with little brother Xiaochen here, I am very confident of defending Maple Leaf Lake." "Right, that's right. As long as the Blue Dragon King is here, Maple Leaf Lake will definitely be able to defend." The disciples of the Haotian sect and the Thunder and Lightning Palace laughed at the same time. Clearly, Xiaochen was now like a stabilizing force in these people's hearts. Xiaochen felt worried, but he could not show it in front of everyone. After chatting with Elder Ma for a while, he returned to his wooden hut alone. It was already noon. However, many mysterious phenomena appeared in the sky. Space trembled endlessly, causing the clouds to churn. The sky was dark. Not a single ray of sunlight could be seen. The battle at Maple Leaf Lake had ended. However, that did not mean that the battles at the other nodes had ended as well, especially the core node of the 9th layer, Meteor Trail City. At this moment, Meteor Trail City was enduring wave after wave of intense attacks. Most of the deity Dao Union's Emperor Wu and the King Grade warships were gathered there. As long as they broke Meteor Trail City, the ninth layer of formations would shatter and cease to exist. The deity Dao Yunyan's front lines would advance as well. Inside the wooden hut, Xiaochen did not care about the situation elsewhere. He sat cross-legged and placed his hands on his knees. He circulated the purple thunder divine incantation, continuously absorbing the spiritual energy of the world to nourish his law energy. In the heart of an emperor, the 100 strands of primordial energy intertwined, forming a purple whirlpool. At the bottom of the vortex was a lake that was formed by the pure power of the laws of the world. Countless purple specks of light fell like raindrops, nourishing the lake. Then, the lake began to feed back the purple vortex, condensing 100 strands of primordial energy. This was a rather troublesome cultivation method. If one could directly absorb primordial energy, then there would be no need to continue cultivating the laws of heaven and earth. Unfortunately, in this land of exile, the absorption of primordial energy was limited. It was rumored that only after reaching the Supreme Being level would there be no more restrictions. This was also the reason why Supreme Beings could calmly refine the primordial pill. While Xiaochen was silently cultivating, the mysterious sword box on his back also released a warm current. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth that Xiaochen had absorbed was strengthened. It was extremely miraculous. 2 days had passed, and the weight of the sword box had lightened considerably. However, it was still unknown when it would be completely unsealed. Without a saber, Xiaochen's strength dropped by a quarter. Furthermore, this was under the condition that he comprehended the flawless saber Dao. If it were any other bladesman without a suitable saber, their combat prowess would drop by at least half. Dong, dong, dong. Knocking rang out, and Xiaochen opened his eyes. Then he casually waved his hand, and the door gently opened. Elder Ma, Emo-chun, and Yu Bingyan entered at the same time. They handed Xiaochen 3 jade bottles and said with a smile, "Little brother Xiao, these are your rewards. There are 3 bottles of primordial pills, and each bottle contains 5 primordial pills. They correspond to the 3 Emperor Wu pills that you killed. The envoys of the inner palace were all stunned by your military merits. No one has ever obtained so many primordial pills before." Xiaochen's eyes lit up. The primordial pill. That was truly good stuff. Right now, Xiaochen had 100 strands of primordial energy, because the Flame Rock Sovereign had given him the primordial pills. As Elder Ma handed the jade bottles to Xiaochen, he could not hide the envy in his eyes at all. Xiaochen smiled. This was human nature. He would not bother about this. How are the battles at the other nodes? Xiaochen asked as he received the medicinal pills. He clearly felt that the deity Dao Yunyan's attack this time was exceptionally ferocious. Elder Ma sighed and said, "It was very dangerous. Several nodes nearly fell. Fortunately, the fiend race's reinforcements arrived. The battles in most areas have already ended. The casualties are very severe. Only Meteor Trail City is still fighting." The fiend race's reinforcements arrived? Xiaochen entered deep thought. Then he asked, "In that case, should we go and provide reinforcements?" Elder Ma shook his head and said, "There's no need. Our nodes are also very important. If Meteor Trail City needs reinforcements, there will be a meteor soaring into the sky. Anyone within 5 million kilometers will be able to see it." Xiaochen nodded. Just as he was about to say something, the entire defense suddenly trembled intensely. Undercurrents surged in Maple Leaf Lake, and the fallen leaves on the lake's surface scattered everywhere. What's going on? Horror flashed on the faces of Emo-chun and Elder Ma as they asked in confusion. This horror came for no reason, appearing out of nowhere. It was incredibly strange. Only Xiaochen and Elder Ma felt horrified. They exchanged glances and roughly guessed what happened. These two had the heart of an emperor, and were extremely sensitive to the aura of experts. If they guessed right, a prime had appeared. Elder Ma said with a grave expression, "Right now, the deity Dao Yunyan has 3 primes on the surface. Emperor Forsaken, the heaven-punishing corpse god, and the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. It is impossible for Emperor Forsaken to appear. If he did, his aura would be even stronger. It can only be the heaven-punishing corpse god, or the Dongyue Ghost Emperor." Xiaochen added, The aura of the ghost race is extremely sinister. If it is the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, we should be able to feel a chill. It might very well be the heaven-punishing corpse god. Imochen exclaimed in shock. A prime appearing so early? Are they bringing forward the final battle? Elder Ma rejected that idea. No. Neither side can bear the consequences of the final battle now. This should just be a probing exchange. However, when primes fight, even if it is just a probing exchange, the shockwaves will spread far and wide. Furthermore, if anyone ends up at a disadvantage, it will be a huge blow to their morale. Xiao Chun agreed with Elder Ma's opinion. In reality, he had always believed that the crux of this battle was not with primes. It had never been among primes. Instead, it was among martial emperors below primes. Primes were existences that stood at the peak of the Kunlun realm. They would not fight to the death with each other. Even if they were mortal enemies, they would have a tacit understanding with each other. Ying Zongtian, since you became a prime, you have not fought with anyone yet. Do you dare to fight with this corpse god? A boundless laughter rang out in the sky, which was filled with strange phenomena. Following this laughter, a loud laughter rang out. Following this laughter, the many mysterious phenomena in the sky vanished like smoke. The continuously churning clouds split in half and retreated. Whoosh! The long-awaited sunlight reappeared. The dark and gloomy sky was swept away, and sunlight illuminated the surrounding 5 million kilometers. Gazes peered through the wooden window into the wooden hut that Xiao Chun was in, leaving mottled spots of light behind. Xiao Chun looked at the sky through the window. He vaguely saw a stocky middle-aged man with his upper body bared walking towards the sky above Meteor Trail City. Instantly, the auras of the deity Dao Union cultivators attacking Meteor Trail City soared, and their attacks became much sharper. Corpse god? Big brother Xing Tian, we both know that there are no gods in this world. Why do you have to be like those deity race cultivators, deceiving yourselves? A blazing sun rose in Haotian City. This sun looked like fire, burning the sky for 5 million kilometers around. A figure slowly walked out of the sun. His gaze pierced into the heaven-punishing corpse god from a boundless distance. Gods or not, those are just minor details. There is no need to speak nonsense. Let me ask you this. Do you dare to walk out of the worldly mountain river Great Sun Formation and fight? The heaven-punishing corpse god said as he met this gaze. It had been 1,000 years since the heaven-punishing corpse god became a prime. He was very confident in facing Ying Zongtian, so he challenged the heaven-punishing corpse god again. Why not? Ying Zongtian stood on the sun and soared into the sky. A battle between primes was about to begin. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.